Chapter 201, Merit Reversal. Sin Karma Saber, Zhongyu endured the severe pain in his head and spat out a large mouthful of nascent soul essence. His spiritual hand, grown vast in the wind, positioned itself defiantly before him. Bang! 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 The 4 ghost artifacts were blocked by the spiritual hand. The spiritual hand struck fiercely once more, forcing 4 arms to retreat several zhang. However, the spiritual hand dimmed on the spot and dissipated into nothingness. Xuan couldn't help but shake his head. The true prowess of a nascent soul cultivator lies in their nascent soul essence. Using nascent soul essence can unreasonably enhance the power of one's spells. Zhongyu had expended some of his nascent soul essence in his earlier duel with Lei Mingying. And yet, he could still release such a significant amount. He truly is a prodigious figure from the reincarnation divine sect. Taking advantage of this brief respite to catch his breath, Zhongyu immediately activated a golden rope, which whipped towards Xuan, attempting to entangle him. The Ghost King was indeed formidable. But killing the one who controlled the Ghost King would naturally break the control over the twin Ghost Kings. From the corner of his eye, Zhongyu glimpsed the twin Ghost Kings, his eyes glinting with greed. Ghosts possessing life-bound ghost artifacts were rare. And this 4-armed Ghost King had 4 life-bound ghost artifacts, truly a rarity in the world. If he could seize them, his power would surely soar. As for the objections that other cultivators within the reincarnation divine sect might have. What a joke. The distinction between righteous and demonic is but a thought away. Would he care about that? Thus, Zhongyu's attack on Xuan was not with an aggressive magic treasure but a controlling one. He aimed to dominate Xuan's spirit. To force him to relinquish the soul marks of the twin Ghost Kings, allowing himself to take control. Seeing that Zhongyu had thrown a golden rope, Xuan already had a plan in mind. He quickly guessed Zhongyu's intentions. Xuan sneered. He commanded his 2 arms to position itself in front of him. Meanwhile, he expended his merit to use the Mahayana swift escape, swiftly retreating. In an instant, he dodged the golden rope. At the same time, his left hand, hidden in his sleeve, casually swept through the air. It seemed to scatter something stealthily. Clang! 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 The 2 exchanged several more blows. Xuan threw out a multitude of demonic talismans. Various spirits like wolf, tiger, and snake souls swarmed around Zhongyu, biting chaotically. Zhongyu was exasperated. Although these were only golden core period spectral souls, their numbers were overwhelming. He had just crushed one when more fearless spectral souls charged at him. See the Nelfer.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. In less than 100 breaths' time, this fellow had thrown out 100 talismans. Such things weren't easy to make. How could the opponent throw them as if they cost nothing? Moreover, in the gaps between throwing talismans, he hurled numerous other golden core period charms, such as the Earth Prison charm, the 5 Thunder charm, and others. While their controlling effects were weak and their power not great, they were like mosquito bites. An occasional sting here and there was enough to drive him mad. Zhongyu was immensely annoyed. He felt this person was like a slippery snake. Weak, yet always out of grasp. And he had to worry about being bitten by the snake's venomous fangs. In that case, he could only give up on controlling the twin Ghost Kings. Time for a decisive strike. Kill! Xuan bellowed. 2 arms maneuvered the battlefield, once again deploying its merits. This was, after all, a Ghost King, and Zhongyu dared not clash directly. He immediately tapped into the nearly depleted spiritual sense within his sea of awareness, trying to employ a secret spiritual technique for self-protection. But suddenly, he found that the flow of his spiritual sense became obstructed. It felt as if something was clogging his meridians. Zhongyu's face changed abruptly. Poisoned. When had he been poisoned? Xuan, noticing his subtly changed expression, immediately laughed. During their earlier clash, he had been secretly spreading poison powder while carefully holding his breath. He had spread a total of 22 types of poison powder. 3 were highly toxic, 8 were slow-acting, 5 damaged the soul, and 6 harmed the body. Most had no effect. Unexpectedly, it was the mind-corrupting dust that had attached to the spiritual sense and entered the body, slowing the flow of the spiritual sense. Zhongyu was indeed a mid-stage nascent soul cultivator. His resistance to poison was too strong. Xuan resolved to delve deeper into the art of poisoning in the future, aiming to develop more potent poisons. In the high-stakes exchange between experts, victory often hinged on a single breath. Due to this momentary slowdown, Zhongyu failed to instantly cast his spiritual secret technique. The waiting 4 arms seized the opportunity, closed in, and launched a relentless assault. A ring pommel saber, a Betrayal mace, a steel hammer, and a trident spear incessantly greeted Zhongyu. Zhongyu was a step slow every step of the way, always on the receiving end of blows. His sea of awareness kept trembling. His spirit was in grave danger. Deep within his heart, Zhongyu finally sensed the terrifying specter of death. Previously, he thought the worst outcome would be a minor setback, but he could still defeat this Golden Core Jr. Now, however, he felt a genuine threat to his life, an unbelievable turn of events. If he hesitated to use his trump card, he was certain to die. He had a strong premonition. Damn it. Truly damned. How could I be forced to this extent? Zhongyu roared. His body suddenly erupted in dazzling golden light, and a wheel of merit gold began spinning rapidly behind his head. In that moment, the surrounding darkness was illuminated as if it were broad daylight, drawing the gazes of many cultivators toward him. Merit reversal. Sin Karma Saber. Zhongyu bellowed as he suddenly spat out a palm-sized dagger. This was his life-bound magic treasure, the Sin Karma Saber. Apart from 2 saints in the reincarnation divine sect, very few could force him to deploy this treasure. The merit wheel behind Zhongyu spun wildly in reverse at this moment. Instantly, it transformed into raging karmic flames, burning fiercely. Zhongyu was immediately enveloped by a robust force of sinister karma as if an invisible blade was cutting down his fortune, heralding disaster and reducing his lifespan. Wei Ji, Shangguan Hao, and others watched Zhongyu in shock. Any cultivator aiming for a higher realm would consciously or unconsciously accumulate merit. Merit brought many benefits. Most importantly, it could lessen the power of heavenly tribulations that were far from trivial. From breaking the golden core to form the nascent soul, facing the nascent soul tribulation, the deity transformation tribulation, the astral projection tribulation, and so on, surviving these meant becoming a great power, living freely for hundreds to thousands of years. Failing meant becoming dust, with one's body and path utterly destroyed. It was not surprising for Zhongyu, a prodigy of the reincarnation divine sect, to possess a layer of merit wheel. But being driven to this extent, to reluctantly reverse his merit into karma, all to kill his opponent, was extraordinary. The reversal of merit into sinister karma significantly increased its power. As long as the opponent's merit was not superior to his own, even if only slightly stronger, they couldn't withstand this terrifying attack of sinister karma. They would be instantly annihilated. Die. Zhongyu's face was fierce as he vowed to slay Xuan along with the twin ghost kings. 2 Arms' expression grew serious, positioning itself in front of Xuan. Father, if I die, please take care of the 4 Arms. He's quite troublesome. Used to be greedy, now he vomits every day. 4 Arms barked a few times and also charged in front of Xuan. The 4 life-bound ghost artifacts were deployed, intently focusing on the suddenly approaching Sin Karma Saber. Xuan watched the oncoming Sin Karma Saber, merely offering a slight smile. Chapter 202, The Power of 3 Layers of Merit Wheel. Plus, Turn Off Reset. Chapter 202, The Power of 3 Layers of Merit Wheel. 2 Arms, 4 Arms, step back, Xuan said calmly. Father. 2 Arms exclaimed in shock. Woof? 4 Arms appeared confused. Xuan waved his hand, stepped back. 2 arms and 4 arms then moved aside. Xuan stood with his chest open, his brow completely exposed. The Sin Karma Saber could now pierce through his forehead without any hindrance. At this moment, Zhongyu's complexion was ashen. He even felt as though the world around him was rejecting his presence. Seeing Xuan letting the twin ghost kings step aside, calmly facing the incoming Sin Karma Saber, his expression turned to one of bafflement. The fate of the ghost kings was tied to this man. Should he die, the ghost kings would also perish. Could this man be so compassionate as to not want the ghost kings to suffer in his stead? Impossible. What was amiss here? Nearby, Wei Ji, Shangguan Hao, and other cultivators who witnessed this scene were also filled with shock and confusion. What the? Could it be that this man thought he was doomed and thus chose to face his death with composure? Wan Wuing also witnessed this scene, merely sighing lightly. When you provoke someone you shouldn't have, this is the consequence. My good junior brother, when I step onto the nascent soul path, I will place a flower on your grave in the future. Just as everyone thought Xuan was certainly doomed, 3 layers of merit wheels suddenly appeared behind Xuan's head. They spun continuously, resembling blooming lotuses. Fragrances filled the air. Golden flowers fell chaotically. Heavenly chants resonated. All divine beasts roared in unison. He appeared both divine and saintly. All sorts of miraculous visions surrounded Xuan, appearing and vanishing intermittently, making him seem like a banished immortal stepping down to earth. People's eyes were wide with disbelief. They couldn't believe what they were witnessing. Ding! The Sin Karma Saber hadn't even touched Xuan yet. Its fierce karmic flames were swiftly extinguished under the illumination of the merit wheels, quickly turning into an ordinary little dagger. It clattered to the ground with a tap. Zhongyu's face, which had just regained a bit of color, instantly drained of all blood. His strongest move, born from reversing his merit, was this? 1, 2, 3 layers of merit wheels. Sar the novelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Shangguan Hao tremulously extended 3 fingers, afraid of counting wrong. He counted his fingers again earnestly. Only then was he certain. It was indeed 3 layers of merit wheels. Mother, have you seen this? I've never seen a triple-layer merit wheel in my life. Wei Ji was utterly shocked, almost feeling the urge to speak to his long-deceased mother about what he was witnessing. Wan Wuing had almost turned to leave when a glimpse of the cascading golden light from the corner of his eye nearly made his eyes pop out. Such formidable merit could not possibly belong to his junior brother. It seemed he had been mistaken. Xuan looked down at Zhongyu, whose face had turned deathly pale as if he was a sovereign gazing down upon him. Your life, I'll take it now. 2 arms and 4 arms rushed forward suddenly. With a snap, they directly extracted Zhongyu's nascent soul from his body. His physical body and storage bag naturally went where they belonged. Xuan looked around and saw that most of the cultivators were staring at him as if they had seen a ghost. Without saying much, Xuan retracted his merit wheels and ran. He had noticed that a group of nether crocodiles in the distance seemed to have caught a whiff of something enticing and were accelerating their pace toward him. Among them were some unusually large nether crocodiles. The reason was unclear. Holy crap! So many nether crocodiles. Run! My God, look at those flying in the sky, those are dark falcons. There weren't this many nether crocodiles just now. Look over there, there are more ancient beasts, looks like different species. The cultivators looked at the approaching swarm of ancient beasts like a tidal wave, their scalps tingling. Usually, only nether crocodiles roamed outside. How come now even more terrifying dark falcons and dark devouring moths had appeared? These ancient beasts were not known to show up before. The cultivators stopped fighting and ran madly toward the righteous Tao city. The treasures within the deity transformation cave were enticing. But one had to be alive to claim them. Right now, the swarm of ancient beasts was the most terrifying foe. Screams echoed through the night. The cultivators looked back and saw nothing. They could only see points of cold light under the moonlight. Those were the tough shells of nether crocodiles and other ancient beasts. In another direction, the booming sound of Xuan using thunder seeds to blast open a path was relentless. No matter how many nether crocodiles there were, they feared explosions. Xuan had roughly guessed that perhaps the thunder seeds harbored the ability to wound the spirit, which was why they could kill nether crocodiles. If they only damaged the body, they wouldn't be very effective against nether crocodiles. Xuan naturally wouldn't return to the righteous Dao city. He had slain Zhongyu in full view of everyone. The reincarnation divine sect would certainly investigate this matter thoroughly. Going to the city would be like walking into a trap. For now, he only needed to break out of the encirclement of nether crocodiles, find a cave, and then directly return to Blue Star. As Xuan fought, he began to sense something amiss. Not only were the ground-crawling nether crocodiles appearing in front of him, but also the sky-soaring dark falcons, and even the tiny, unforeseeable dark devouring moths. These latter two types of ancient beasts had not been seen in perilous battlefields for a long time. Why had they suddenly appeared today? It seems that after I displayed the 3 layers of merit wheels, these ancient beasts went mad and accelerated toward me, Xuan pondered. Could it be that they are attracted to merit, wanting to devour creatures imbued with it? Xuan shook his head repeatedly. The origins of the ancient beasts in the extraterritorial battlefields were unknown. They harbored too many secrets. Unable to figure out the answer, he decided it was best not to dwell on it. Looking ahead at the swarming mass of nether crocodiles, Xuan decisively threw out 10,000 thunder seeds. Boom! 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 A large number of nether crocodiles were annihilated. By the time they regrouped and surged forward again, the figure that had stood there had vanished as if evaporated from the face of the earth. Blue Star. Several days later. Xuan lay on a plush velvet lounge chair, completely relaxing his body and mind. Fighting was too exhausting. This kind of life suited him better. I, Xuan, have never liked fighting and killing, he mused, having rested for several days. Eventually, Xuan began to examine the spoils of his recent battles. In his hand, he held an ordinary-looking small dagger. This was Zhongyu's Sin Karma Saber, a high-grade offensive magic treasure. Typically, magic treasures were used by Golden Core and Nascent Soul cultivators, with Golden Core cultivators using low to mid-grade magic treasures, and Nascent Soul cultivators using high to top-grade ones. Although the Sin Karma Saber was just a high-grade offensive magic treasure, its ability to reverse merit and ignite boundless karmic flames allowed it to compete with top-grade offensive magic treasures. Zhongyu had relied on this dagger to defeat many cultivators of the same realm, which had led to his continuous fortunate encounters and rapid rise. However, I didn't expect that these 2 seemingly ordinary pieces of jade actually contain acquired spiritual bodies, Xuan mused, his thoughts manifesting 2 irregular pieces of jade in his palm. The twisted lines within the jade were the manifestations of the acquired spiritual bodies. Had it not been for the records in Zhongyu's storage bag about these extraordinary jades, Xuan might have mistaken them for ordinary stones and left them gathering dust in a corner of his storage bag. Let's see what kind of acquired spiritual body you can grant me, Xuan said, curiosity coloring his tone. Chapter 203, True Blood Elixir Body and Inwood Spiritual Body Plus, Turn Off Reset. Chapter 203, True Blood Elixir Body and Inwood Spiritual Body. The 2 pieces of acquired jade were indiscernible in their properties. Their surfaces bore no labels, and their exact nature could only be determined through personal experimentation. Xuan, not one to overthink, picked up a blood-red piece of jade. He wrapped the jade in spiritual qi and began the slow process of refining it. The refining was exceedingly slow. After 2 days, only a strand of the jade had been processed, transforming into a strange power that merged into Xuan's body. At that moment, Xuan shuddered as if his body was rejecting this foreign substance. Don't reject it, this is good stuff. Xuan gritted his teeth, forcefully suppressing his body's instinctive rejection. Managing his spiritual qi to both refine the jade and suppress his body's reactions was enormously draining. Xuan, who had cultivated his beast golden core using the Thunder Python golden core technique, possessed an amount of spiritual qi that surpassed most golden core cultivators. Yet, even his reserves were proving insufficient. Casually, he slapped his hand down, popping a qi restoration pill into his mouth. It dissolved, its potent medicine swiftly replenishing his depleted spiritual qi. Days passed, and in the tranquility of Blue Star, Xuan was the undisputed sovereign. No one could disturb his peace, which was precisely why he had chosen this location for his refining. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. The acquired jade floating before Xuan had faded to nearly invisible. With a light crack, it shattered, falling to the ground as a pile of jade remnants. The acquired spiritual body, refined through secret methods, had fully integrated into Xuan's system. Xuan carefully sensed the changes within his body. After a long time, he reopened his eyes, a flash of joy crossing his face. True blood elixir body. Who would have thought it would be a top-grade spiritual body? Xuan marveled. The grading of spiritual bodies was similar to that of spiritual roots, categorized as inferior, common, superior, ultimate, earthly, and heavenly grades. Xuan's own previously created evil-wood spiritual body was a common spiritual body. He had not expected that absorbing the acquired jade would grant him an ultimate grade spiritual body. Xuan had heard about the true blood elixir body long before. It was one of the ultimate spiritual bodies most suitable for the path of alchemy. Whenever he added his own essence blood to any elixir he crafted, the potency of the elixir would increase. With the true blood elixir body, Xuan could refine elixirs on his own in the future without needing to hire others, and perhaps he could even refine for others. For many cultivators, obtaining alchemy recipes was an expensive endeavor, requiring purchase. Yet, when hiring an alchemist, they had to provide the recipe, materials, and spiritual stones. In this way, alchemists could read numerous recipes without any cost to themselves and profit handsomely. Well, if after crafting the elixirs they disposed of their clients, the profits would be even greater. In the future, when Xuan progressed from breaking his golden core to forming his nascent soul, he would inevitably need to craft his own elixirs. His proficiency in alchemy wasn't as stellar as in formation setting or artifact refining. He couldn't even produce a high-grade heaven-patching pill on his own and had to entrust others, staying watchful beside them during the process to prevent poisoning. Now, able to refine elixirs himself, he no longer needed to worry about such matters. Xuan looked pleased and turned his attention to the second piece of acquired jade, which appeared dull and ordinary. So plain, he mused. Feels like it might be a low-grade spiritual body, I wonder if it'll conflict. Should I absorb it? Rubbing his chin in thought, Xuan considered that possessing multiple spiritual bodies could be good or bad, depending on the situation. If the spiritual bodies did not conflict and could complement and balance each other, their combined effect could be greater than the sum of their parts. That would indeed be beneficial. However, conflicting spiritual bodies could pose a problem, pulling in different directions and causing internal strife. Xuan did not possess the secret techniques of the reincarnation divine sex heavenly prodigies, which could extract an acquired spiritual body once integrated. His only option would be to expend great effort suppressing one of the spiritual bodies, carrying it like a burden each day, a truly uncomfortable prospect. After a moment of consideration, Xuan decided to absorb it. Invincible merit, now it's your time to shine, he declared. Taking a deep breath, he began refining the second piece of acquired jade. This time, it did not take a month to refine. Within just 5 days, he had completely absorbed the jade. Xuan carefully sensed the changes within his body, and after a moment, a smile of satisfaction spread across his face. The evilwood spiritual body has upgraded. It's actually become a superior grading wood spiritual body. Xuan exhaled in relief. As long as the change was not for the worse or resulted in a conflict between spiritual bodies, it was a positive outcome. Although he lacked a wood spiritual root and didn't need to absorb wood spiritual qi, the Yingwood spiritual body could still accelerate the absorption of Yin Qi, which also enhanced his refinement of Yin Thunder, providing a significant boost. Xuan smiled faintly, reflecting on his triple-layer merit wheels. Though not abundant, they always prove useful at critical moments. Xianxia the Novelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Suddenly, his attention was drawn to the fine jade remnants at his feet. Among the debris, he noticed a tiny bead that would have been easy to miss without a closer look. What's this? Xuan picked up the bead and examined it closely, finding its hardness extraordinary. Even with all his strength, he couldn't leave the slightest mark on its surface. Blood sacrifice, he wondered, applying his essence blood, but there was no reaction. Spiritual imprint? Next, he used his spiritual sense, which finally elicited a response. A flood of information entered his mind. After a while, Xuan rubbed his temples, his expression a mix of joy and concern. I never expected it to be this. Contained within the bead was a secret technique left by that nascent soul prodigy, specifically for extracting acquired spiritual bodies. The method was straightforwardly named body-seizing technique. Xuan felt that the naming skills of the nascent soul prodigy, known as True Master Tianqing, were on par with his. Both appreciated the simplicity and eschewed fancy names for their techniques. The body-seizing technique was indeed a valuable find. In the future, Xuan could search for spiritual bodies that suited him and eventually fuse them into a supremely powerful spiritual body. Of course, this was the ideal scenario. The reality was that True Master Tianqing had only allowed Xuan to see part of the body-seizing technique. The rest was sealed, accessible only by applying a drop of essence blood from True Master Qiansong. True Master Tianqing had mentioned that he had confided only in True Master Qiansong about the matter of the acquired jade. If anything untoward happened to him, it would likely be True Master Qiansong's doing. He wanted future cultivators to eliminate True Master Qiansong. Big brother, senior. Xuan couldn't help but feel a mix of amusement and helplessness. True Master Qiansong is a nascent soul powerhouse. Even with my 2 ghost kings, I couldn't possibly challenge such a formidable cultivator. True Master Qianqing's approach was indeed cunning, showing just enough to tantalize. It was like a mischievous kitten scratching at Xuan's heart, always just out of reach, causing an itch he couldn't scratch. However, while I can't kill True Master Qiansong myself, perhaps I can leverage this situation, Xuan pondered thoughtfully. All I need is a single drop of True Master Qiansong's essence blood to unlock the rest. Chapter 204, Huikong the Slayer of Zhongyu Plus, Turn Off Reset. Chapter 204, Huikong the Slayer of Zhongyu. In righteous Dao City, dawn had already broken. Yuan Zichu walked along the main north-south street, noting immediately that the number of cultivators who had returned to the city had greatly diminished. Many bore injuries, and presumably, a significant number had met their end near the Great Chasm. Yuan Zichu sighed softly. He had anticipated the grave and terrifying stakes involved and had chosen not to vie for them. Thus, he had survived. Moreover, as a Golden Core period talisman master of notable accomplishment who consistently made good connections, few harbored ill intentions toward him. Yuan Zichu settled himself at the Cloudy Tea House, only to discover some disorder within. After inquiring, he learned that the tea house's owner had participated in the battle at the Great Chasm and had died in a deserted corner. Now, the tea house was temporarily maintained by a few of the original owner's disciples. Although it appeared normal on the surface, these disciples were also quarreling over the division of the property. The Cloudy Tea House, established nearly 400 years ago, was a reputable old establishment in righteous Dao City. If the property were truly divided, it would likely lose many loyal customers. Yuan Zichu shook his head slightly and sat by the window to drink tea. He had cultivated a unique spiritual sense secret technique that allowed him to overhear others' conversations. The cultivators in the tea house were gathered in small groups, discussing secrets, merely muffling their voices without being overly cautious, like guarding against thieves. Of course, truly secret matters would never be discussed in the tea house's main hall. A private room would be chosen for confidential talks. Thus, Yuan Zichu could absorb the surrounding conversations without effort. Most cultivators talked about their personal and family experiences. However, a discussion between two cultivators caught Yuan Zichu's interest. That night was incredible. To my knowledge, both the old patriarch of the Bai family and the old patriarch of the Qin family have gone missing. Only the old patriarch of the Duan family managed to escape back to righteous Dao City, though it said he was injured, severity unknown. I've heard more than that. The nascent soul high monk Miaxin from Celestial Sound Zen Temple is also missing. However, Shangguan Hao from Majestic Sword Sect and Wei Ji from Feather Transformation Heaven Palace both survived. Ah? So many nascent soul cultivators died. Who did it? Another cultivator joined the conversation. Of course, it was Yin Zhongyu from the Reincarnation Divine Sect. He fought with the old patriarch Lei Mingyang of the Lei family, forcing Lei Mingyang to abandon his physical body and flee with his nascent soul. Search the novelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. To think that a nascent soul cultivator would abandon his entire foundation just to save his life, TSK, that Yin Zhongyu's terror is unspeakable. The cultivators all sighed in admiration. We cultivators should strive to be formidable beings like Yin Zhongyu. To act unbridled and do as we please. Yuan Zichu sipped his tea, his expression calm. Ever since the disciples of the Reincarnation Divine Sect arrived in righteous Dao City, he knew that the battle for the deity transformation cave's treasures must have reached a decisive conclusion. With Yin Zhongyu's astonishing strength, it was no surprise that he was the one who laughed last. Had Yuan Zichu risked joining the fray for the cave's spiritual treasures, he would have likely ended up just another soul under Yin Zhongyu's sword. There were no surprises. However, the power structure of righteous Dao City is about to change, he mused. The Duan family will surely absorb the Bai and Qin families. Fortunately, I had accepted an invitation from the Duan family earlier and became their venerated guest. Yuan Zichu felt somewhat melancholic. He had nearly made the wrong choice back then due to the generous offers from the Bai and Qin families. Time to go back and draw talismans. I've heard enough, Yuan Zichu decided, standing to leave. Yin Zhongyu is strong, but there is someone even stronger than him. A one-eyed cultivator who had just drained his bowl of spirit tea suddenly let out a sinister laugh. The other cultivators looked at him in surprise. The man continued to drink his tea silently, clearly enjoying keeping others in suspense. Are you going to talk or not? One of the cultivators suddenly stood up, his late-stage golden core aura unmistakable. The one-eyed cultivator nearly choked on his tea. With an awkward laugh, he said, "Ha ha ha, please forgive me, I was just keeping you all in suspense a little." The cultivators all snorted in unison. They had thought he was some fierce one-eyed warrior. It turned out he was just a tease. Yuan Zichu chuckled softly and listened intently. The one-eyed cultivator cleared his throat and continued, "Actually, it's nothing you wouldn't know if you asked those who participated in that night's battle. Yin Zhongyu of the Reincarnation Divine Sect is indeed strong, but he died at the hands of a golden core cultivator." As soon as he finished, the previously mentioned late-stage golden core cultivator slammed his hand down on the table, his tiger-like eyes glaring at the one-eyed cultivator. "Nonsense," he bellowed. "How could a mid-stage nascent soul cultivator from a 6th-level cultivation sect possibly die at the hands of a mere golden core cultivator? You must be joking." The rest of the cultivators also began to clamor. Exactly. A nascent soul cultivator against any golden core is an absolute domination because a nascent soul cultivator possesses the essence of the nascent soul, greatly enhancing the power of their spells. Fellow Taoist, don't try to deceive me just because I'm young. Besides a few prodigies, very few can kill a nascent soul cultivator with just a golden core cultivation. How could such prodigies appear in an extraterritorial battlefield? They are treasured like jewels and closely guarded within their sects. Many nodded in agreement. The extraterritorial battlefield was perilous, and true prodigies seldom ventured there. Of course, some might choose to come for the experience, but even then, they were usually accompanied by cultivators from their sects to ensure their safety. Zhongyu was considered talented but not yet a prodigy. Otherwise, he wouldn't need to seek opportunities in such a dangerous place. Feeling the weight of many glaring eyes, the one-eyed cultivator became somewhat nervous. He managed a wry smile. "Fellow Taoists, I swear by my Tao heart that what I have said is the absolute truth. If I lie, may the heavens strike me with thunder, and may I never reach nascent soul in my lifetime." The late-stage golden core cultivator scoffed. "What use is your oath of a heart demon? Most golden core cultivators never achieve nascent soul in their lifetimes. Why don't you swear that you'll never become a deity transformation cultivator instead?" Laughter erupted among the cultivators. The one-eyed cultivator felt helpless. How come nobody believes me when I'm telling the truth, he thought. Suddenly, someone from a corner spoke up. "I can verify that what he's saying is true." Everyone, including Yuan Zichu, turned to look. The late-stage golden core cultivator sneered, "And who are you to verify anything?" His words halted abruptly as he saw the face of the speaker. His sentence froze in his throat, unable to proceed. After a moment, he stuttered, "Wei. Senior Wei, I spoke out of turn, please forgive me." Wei Ji smiled, "No harm done, just be more careful in your next life." With a flick of his finger, a beam of spiritual light shot forth, piercing through the golden core cultivator's brow. The man's pupils dilated rapidly as he collapsed to the ground, dead in an instant. The cultivators around looked towards Wei Ji in utter shock. Wei Ji then stood up and stated calmly, "The one who killed Zhongyu is Huikong, a golden core monk from the mystic Azure Star's Golden Dragon Temple. The upper sect has issued a bounty. Anyone with information on Huikong will be rewarded with 50,000 small spiritual stones and 3 soul-breaking spikes. Whoever captures Huikong alive will receive 150,000 small spiritual stones and a bottle of deity-nurturing elixir." Chapter 205, How could Chu Xian, a great demon, possibly have 3 layers of merit wheels? Plus, turn off reset. Chapter 205, How could Chu Xian, a great demon, possibly have 3 layers of merit wheels? Clang. In that instant, teacups clattered to the floor. Even after Wei Ji had left the tea house, the cultivators remained immersed in shock. Zhongyu was truly slain by a golden core cultivator? A mighty nascent soul expert had fallen to a mere golden core. Such news, if spread, would surely be the butt of jokes. Yuan Zichu's body swayed, his eyes wide in astonishment. Huikong? He remembered that name. Wasn't he the one who was initially considered for a position as a venerated guest of the Duan family but was ultimately rejected? Yuan Zichu's pupils narrowed as he recalled an incident. He had been strolling through Jingdao City with Xiaofeng Xian when they happened to pass by Huikong's cave dwelling. Xiaofeng Xian, with audacious demand, had insisted that Huikong vacate the dwelling. Thinking back, Xiaofeng Xian's audacity was astonishing. To think he had dared to demand that a cultivator capable of slaying a mid-stage nascent soul relinquish his cave dwelling. Yuan Zichu was thankful that he preferred not to make enemies or bully others, otherwise, he might have been long dead. Yuan Zichu patted his chest, feeling as if he had narrowly escaped a walk through the gates of the underworld. "Mystic Azure Star, Golden Dragon Temple, Huikong," he murmured. "I know of the Golden Dragon Temple. It was one of the 5 sects of Yu country and has long since been destroyed. This person must be using a false identity," he mused. Someone with such power should not be an unknown nobody. Yuan Zichu pondered deeply, but no matter how much he thought, he couldn't determine who this person could be. The strongest cultivator he had ever met at his level was He Liang, a fellow elder of the 100 Refinements sect and a master of physical cultivation. That day, He Liang shattered all of his defensive spells and magic treasures with a single punch, leaving him utterly defeated. However, even He Liang, despite his strength, had fallen to a demonic cultivator and clearly was not on par with Huikong, the high monk who had slain a mid-stage nascent soul cultivator. Mystic Azure Star truly is a cradle of extraordinary talents, Yuan Zichu sighed, settling his bill and leaving the cloudy tea house. At the Duan family estate, Duan Xiao sat cross-legged in the cultivation chamber, his complexion deathly pale. His eyes swirled with uncontrollable hatred. He had set out to kill Shangguan Hao and seize the deity-nurturing elixir, only to be gravely wounded by Shangguan Hao instead. If not for some life-saving measures he had taken over the years, he might have perished in the Great Chasm. Fengxian. Where is my son Fengxian? Duanxiu roared. I am here, foster father. Xiao Fengxian hurried into the cultivation chamber from his guard post at the door. The two shared a tender moment. As Duanxiu gently caressed Xiao Fengxian's handsome, fair face, the rage in his heart slowly dissipated. Suddenly, someone knocked on the stone door of the cultivation chamber. Elder Ancestor. It's Duanxiu. The upper sect has issued an order. Duanxiu, startled, quickly straightened his disheveled robes before responding, come in. Duanxiu, the head of the Duan family, entered and knelt down respectfully, saying, the upper sect commands that the one who kills Zhongyu is Mystic Azure Star's Golden Dragon Temple's Huikong. The upper sect orders our Duan family to track down anyone associated with Huikong. Duanxiu frowned, Huikong? Who is Huikong? Although he had escaped early back to the righteous Dao City, he was unaware of what ultimately transpired in the Great Chasm. However, he had heard from other cultivators who returned alive that a monk had slain Zhongyu. Initially, he thought it was Miaoxin from the Celestial Sound Zen Temple, but now an unfamiliar name had emerged. Xiao Fengxian's eyes widened in shock. What did you say? Huikong? He looked at Duanxiu. Duanxiu, who held little regard for Xiao Fengxian who served through his beauty, maintained his respectful demeanor. Indeed, that man is Huikong. The very Huikong whom Duan Ke wanted to invite to join our Duan family, but whom I refused, he added with a trace of bitterness. Huikong, capable of slaying even a mid-nascent soul cultivator, was initially set to be invited as a family honorary elder, but Duanxiu refused him. This was likely to become well known throughout the righteous Dao City. He, the head of the Duan family, might be seen by many as a man who could not recognize talent. Duanxiu exclaimed, foolish. How could you turn away such a powerful individual? Duanxiu sighed, elder ancestor. Well, perhaps it was for the best. This person is audacious to the extreme, daring to kill a cultivator of the upper sect. If he had become an elder of our Duan family, we might have been implicated as well. Duanxiu found some sense in these words and nodded, that might indeed be so. Xiao Fengxian suddenly said, to find out where Huikong is, we need to find Duan Quebec. Duan Ke and Huikong are close friends, he must know. Duanxiu agreed, find Duan Ke immediately. Duanxiu forced a smile, elder ancestor, that's the second matter I needed to report. I've already sent people to find Duan Ke, but he has disappeared. cthnovelier.ne, website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Duanxiu stood up abruptly, what? His complexion changed rapidly, reflecting his turbulent emotions. Find Duan Ke. At all costs. Duanxiu inwardly sighed, yes. After Duanxiu left, Xiao Fengxian sat in silence, his mind a tumult of shock and fear. That Huikong, to think he had the power to slay a mid-nascent soul cultivator. He couldn't believe he had once dared to be so disrespectful to Huikong. Master, please don't come looking for me, Xiao Fengxian prayed silently, fearing that Huikong might bear a grudge and come specifically to kill him. On the road from the righteous Dao City to Lei Family City, a middle-aged cultivator with a lush head of hair slowly made his way. He looked back towards the righteous Dao City with a resigned smile. Huikong, you've really put me in a tough spot, he murmured. How was I to know you were so capable, even able to kill an upper sect cultivator? Thank goodness I fled quickly, or by now I'd probably have been captured by the reincarnation divine sect and subjected to a soul search, he lamented. As for the Duan family, I'm better off without them. What should I call myself now? Duan Ke pondered for a long while. My mother's surname is Ning. I think I'll go by Ning Quebec Ning Ke, what a good name. With a joyful smile, Duan Ke headed towards Lei Family City. Wan Wuying, Zhao Wuya, and Huang Yuanwu were also making their way to Lei Family City during the day. After walking a short distance, Huang Yuanwu couldn't help but speak up. Hey, do you guys think, who exactly is this Huikong? Is he really from the mystic Azure Star's Golden Dragon Temple? He wondered aloud. Wan Wuying shook his head, stop talking about it. The reincarnation divine sect is definitely looking for him. If we expose anything, we'll be captured and subjected to a soul search. Zhao Wuya nodded in agreement, better not to speak. The trio fell silent. After a while, Zhao Wuya couldn't help himself. Honestly, I want to know who he is. Old Wan, do you have any guesses? You've been very pensive. Wan Wuying gave a wry smile. I really don't know. At first, I thought he might be my junior brother, Chu Xian. But when he displayed the 3 layers merit wheel, I had to abandon that thought, he continued. My junior brother's character, both of you know well. His negative karma definitely outweighs mine by far. How could he possibly possess the 3-layer merit wheel? Zhao Wuya and Huang Yuanwu nodded vigorously in agreement. That point they never doubted. Chu Xian, a major demon like him, possessing the 3 layers merit wheel? That would be as unlikely as the sun rising from the west. Chapter 206, Millennium Tortoise Technique. Why can't the corpse refining blood fire ever give birth to the blood eviling fire? Chu Xian pondered, resting his cheek on his hand as he watched the roaring corpse refining blood fire. He had been observing it for 10 days now. The fire had consumed at least 1 million zombies but still hadn't produced the stronger blood eviling fire. What could be the problem? Chu Xian shook his head repeatedly. The invincible power of merit seemed to fail him when he needed it most. Wasn't this supposed to be his forte? Casually, Chu Xian took a sip of tea. He had planted numerous spiritual teas on Blue Star. After enriching them with a spirit-gathering formation, they grew even faster than those on Mystic Azure Star. Since he had some spare time, why not enjoy them? Chu Xian thought back to the battlefield beyond the realms and shook his head again. Zhongyu was, after all, a prodigy of the reincarnation divine sect. His sudden death would surely incite the sect's fury. By now, the name Huikong must have spread across that perilous battlefield. The reincarnation divine sect was undoubtedly searching for him intensively. He wondered how Duan Ke was faring. The Duan family might just sell him out. But given Duan Ke's intelligence, he likely fled at the first hint of trouble. The extraterritorial battlefield is perilous. I'll lie low on Blue Star for a few decades, wait for them to nearly forget about this, and then return, Chu Xian decided as he sipped his steaming tea. It was incredibly bitter as life itself. Wasn't it supposed to be bitter before turning sweet? Yet, this cup was bitter through and through, with no hint of sweetness. This batch of Ku Mao Feng isn't good, I'll pour it out, Chu Xian said, tossing the teacup away. Just then, his divine sense detected a figure rushing towards the Haodai Hotel. The person was a middle-aged man in his 40s, with a rugged appearance and a robust physique, his expression filled with joy. That man looks like Wang Gangjian's second son, Chu Xian recalled. Wang Gangjian and his peers had long since stopped handling the affairs of the Black Blade. They now lived like retired elders, gaming, fishing, and tea-tasting, thoroughly enjoying their days. Black Blade had become the dominant force ruling over the entirety of Blue Star. Naturally, a restructuring was necessary to govern such a vast planet efficiently. The original leadership was transformed into a 9-member council. Simply put, 9 core members were chosen to decide on all matters concerning Black Blade. Wang Gangjian, Wang Yong, Tang Jinchuan, and Song Dai each designated one person. Other significant powers like the Free Alliance, the Arctic Forces, and the Holy Light Theocracy nominated 5 representatives each. However, the true core of Black Blade's power still lay in the 4 individuals designated by Wang Gangjian. The other 5 were mostly there to observe and learn, getting a taste of the decision-making process but hardly expected to intervene directly in Black Blade's affairs. The middle-aged man named Wang Zhenxiu, Wang Gangjian's second son, possessed considerable skills, which led to his appointment as the chairman of the 9-member council. Wang Zhenxiu was well aware that immortals were the true puppet masters behind Black Blade. He was utterly loyal to Chu Xian. Each time he reported intelligence, he made the trip personally. As a level 9 superhuman, running there was not difficult. The real challenge was doing it consistently, day after day. Such dedication over time was a true display of loyalty. Search the novel_fire.at website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. At this moment, Wang Zhenxiu stood outside the array, recording his message into a transmission jade, then waited respectfully outside. This was a privilege granted by Chu Xian to the 9-member council. They could transmit information directly through transmission jades instead of writing it down on paper. However, Wang Zhenxiu still preferred making the journey in person. Since he had seen the immortal once in his childhood, he had never again glimpsed that majestic presence. His personal visits were fueled by the hope of seeing the immortal just once more, even a fleeting glance would suffice. The fog churned quietly around him, yet no figure appeared. Wang Zhenxiu sighed lightly. Perhaps this piece of intelligence hadn't caught the immortal's attention after all. He turned to leave when out of the corner of his eye, he saw the fog roil intensely. Suddenly, a figure materialized. Wang Zhenxiu was astounded. Dressed in black, with black hair and eyes, and an expression of extreme aloofness, it was the immortal. He looked just like the figure Wang had seen decades ago as a child. Without hesitation, Wang Zhenxiu knelt on both knees, bowing deeply. Chairman of the Black Blade 9-member council, Wang Zhenxiu, pays his respects to the immortal. Chu Xian said casually, "Rise." "Thank you, immortal," Wang Zhenxiu said, overwhelmed with emotion. Chu Xian smiled. "Wang Zhenxiu, I do remember you. Wang Gongjian's second son, right? You were very young back then." Wang Zhenxiu nodded repeatedly. "Yes, that's me." "But immortal, truly, you haven't changed at all in all these years." Chu Xian remained composed. "Your report, is it true? Has someone really managed to merge 2 body refining techniques?" Wang Zhenxiu replied respectfully, "Indeed. The boy is an orphan from our Black Blade Central City branch. His name is Lu Mingde. As soon as I heard the news, I had him brought from the Central City branch to the East Lake headquarters. Naturally, the headquarters of Black Blade was located in East Lake City. Branches had been established in various cities, with the most remote ones even reaching the Antarctic and Arctic circles." Chu Xian nodded. "Bring him to me." "Yes." Wang Zhenxiu nodded vigorously and immediately departed. Chu Xian felt a sense of joy. He had planted seeds without much thought, and surprisingly, they had borne fruit. Indeed, among the billions of people on Blue Star, there were those with exceptional talent. The body refining techniques he had bestowed included the defensive turtle shell technique, the speed-focused white horse chapter, the aggressive blood fury technique, and the health-preserving life-nourishing scripture. According to Wang Zhenxiu's report, Lu Mingde had initially practiced the turtle shell technique. With his extraordinary talent, he had progressed quickly, mastering 3 levels of the technique within just 2 months. After hitting a major bottleneck moving from the 3rd to the 4th level and having nothing else to do, he began practicing the life-nourishing scripture. Incredibly, he managed to merge the turtle shell technique with the life-nourishing scripture, creating a new body-refining technique called the Millennium Tortoise technique. This breakthrough instantly resolved his bottleneck, and his cultivation progressed smoothly. "This child is quite talented," Chu Xian mused. Soon after, Wang Zhenxiu returned with a young teenager to the Haotai Hotel. Lu Mingde was awestruck as he looked at the swirling black mist. He had never been to East Lake City before, nor had he ever seen an immortal, though he had heard of them. Just seeing the exterior of the formation was enough to astonish him. Wang Zhenxiu led Lu Mingde to kneel down, saying respectfully, "Immortal, I have brought him here." Chapter 207, A Minor Issue with Cultivation Plus, Turn Off Reset. Chapter 207, A Minor Issue with Cultivation. Chu Xian flashed in front of the 2 individuals, suddenly appearing before them. Lu Mingde, seeing Chu Xian's face and feeling the terrifying aura emanating from him, was almost overwhelmed by visions of mountains of corpses and seas of blood, nearly fainting from the shock. Chu Xian flicked a strand of spiritual qi into Lu Mingde, which gradually dissipated his fear. No spiritual root, no spirit body, at the fourth level of body refining. Xuan mused. The humans of Blue Star were indeed peculiar. He had expected Lumingda to possess some unique spiritual body, but there was nothing of the sort. Yet, he had the talent to merge two body-refining techniques into one. Lumingda then managed to stammer, "Lumingda, greets the immortal." Xuan casually asked, "Your surname is Lu, are you from the imperial family of the Han Empire?" The royal family of the Han Empire bore the surname Lu. However, since the core members of the royal family had all perished, the empire had existed in name only for some time. Now, the military camps throughout the empire had almost all been incorporated into Black Blade, becoming a formidable force under its command. Lumingda scratched his head, not from the royal family, just a collateral branch, too distant to have any claim to the palace. Xuan smiled faintly, "Would you like to become my disciple?" Lumingda was overjoyed, his face flushing with excitement. Wang Zhenxi was also surprised. The immortal had actually considered taking a disciple. Could it be that Lumingda might also become an immortal one day? He quickly said, "Why don't you kneel and call him master?" Only then did Lumingda, as if waking from a dream, hastily kneel and address Xuan as his master. Xuan smiled slightly, "From now on, you don't need to practice your Millennium Tortoise technique anymore. I will teach you a superior body refining technique. If you can integrate it as you did with your previous techniques, I will help you extend your life and achieve longevity." Lumingda was ecstatic, bowing deeply, "Thank you, master." "Thank you, master." Xuan casually instructed, "Wang Zhenxiu, continue searching for talents around the world. We need more individuals with exceptional gifts like Lumingda." "Yes." Wang Zhenxiu responded respectfully. Xuan did not have Lumingda stay with him. Instead, he sent Lumingda back to the Black Blade residence. The meat necessary for Lumingda's cultivation practice was delivered every few days by one of Xuan's corpse puppets. By now, Xuan no longer relied on zombie flesh as a source of meat. The flesh of the nether crocodile was much superior. Simply placing a psionic cube inside the flesh of the nether crocodile allowed it to grow into a robust and rosy piece of meat. It could be harvested daily and would regenerate immediately, proving to be entirely sufficient. Soon, talents from all over the world were brought to the East Lake headquarters. Xuan adopted a laissez-faire approach with these nominally his disciples. Naturally, if anyone created enough value, Xuan did not mind bestowing some rewards. After all, as a golden core cultivator, even the slightest trinkets from him were infinitely valuable to mortals. "I think I understand now." Xuan mused, "The reason the corpse refining blood fire has not yet birthed the blood eviling fire is due to a lack of living souls. The corpse refining blood fire can damage the body, but the blood eviling fire can harm both the flesh and the soul. Living souls. Living souls are the key." With this realization, Xuan immediately activated the soul transmission matrix of the psionic cube and traveled to the soul star. Without hesitation, he drew 1,000,000 living souls from the Yellow Spring soul refining array. Upon returning to Blue Star, he injected these souls into the corpse refining blood fire and continued his observations. Sure enough, he noticed a change. The originally orange-yellow corpse refining blood fire suddenly started to darken. "At this rate, the blood eviling fire will form one day." Xuan nodded in satisfaction, inwardly cursing the author of the blood evil demon refining scripture. He suspected that the original author of the blood evil demon refining scripture merely assumed that continuing to devour corpses would lead to some change and thus named the stronger flame the blood eviling fire. In reality, they likely never managed to produce it themselves. Otherwise, why would they lead others astray? Now, Xuan understood that to advance the corpse refining blood fire to the blood eviling fire, it was necessary to devour a sufficient number of living souls, and the souls needed to be of high quality. Perhaps it was due to the unique environment of the soul star, where the souls of living beings were generally of higher quality, that the transformation of the corpse refining blood fire into the blood eviling fire was accelerated. Regular souls likely wouldn't achieve the same effect. time passes as swiftly as a white horse flashes across a gap. In the blink of an eye, 10 years had gone by. Xuan stepped out of the soul-nourishing evil formation with a furrowed brow. His cultivation had naturally progressed to the 9th level of the golden core, but he now faced a minor complication: he had succumbed to cultivation deviation. Simply put, he was practicing too many techniques simultaneously. Over these 10 years, the geniuses gathered from across the Blue Star region had played their expected roles. Some chose to improve body refining techniques. Others invented new qi cultivation methods. A few focused on integrating multiple techniques. The brightest minds and most insightful talents of Blue Star had spent a decade devoted to these studies. They had achieved many breakthroughs, but many were impractical, and some were downright lethal, resulting in instant death from practicing them. Nonetheless, a few ideas proved valuable. A girl from the Holy Light Theocracy modified the body-protecting Golden Will Decree after feeling it was inadequate. She ingeniously incorporated the Church's cultivation methods into it, creating a powerful synergy. The defensive capabilities of the body-protecting Golden Will Decree were significantly enhanced. Lu Mingde, dreaming of practicing the giant elephant body refining technique, had an epiphany. Upon waking and practicing it himself, he found it incredibly smooth and promptly presented it to Xuan. These two techniques were products of individual creativity, containing some flaws naturally, but they were more than sufficient for Xuan. He could easily correct these errors during his own practice. After modification, the body-protecting Golden Will Decree had become powerful enough to rival lower-tier Golden Core techniques. With Xuan's accrued merit, its defensive capabilities could even match top-grade Golden Core techniques. Xuan renamed it Great Protective Golden Will Scripture, seeing potential for further advancement. As for the follow-up to the giant elephant body refining technique, Xuan personally named it Thousand Refinement Dragon Elephant Technique. During these 10 years, he practiced multiple techniques concurrently. However, the Great Protective Golden Will Scripture and the Yin Thunder Evil Technique were clearly in conflict. Sarthanafire.at website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. At first, the conflict was manageable since the Yin Thunder Evil Technique was at a higher level. Xuan's entire spiritual qi, cultivated from this technique, carried its signature. The Great Protective Golden Will Scripture, just beginning to be practiced, was still relatively weak. But as the levels of the techniques increased, the spiritual qi formed by each began to clash and erode each other, causing mutual hindrance. This conflict now affected Xuan's cultivation. If he had not ceased his practice in time, his cultivation level might have decreased instead of increasing. Chapter 208, Another Meal Delivered. Xuan shook his head, wondering if anyone had managed to develop a technique for harmonizing breaths, which was essential for resolving the conflicts between different cultivation methods. Breath harmonization techniques are suited for smoothing over such conflicts. Essentially, these techniques involve introducing a large and balanced quantity of spiritual qi, making the conflicting spiritual qi from various techniques a minority, thus significantly reducing the conflict. Considering potential future conflicts between techniques? The solution was simple: cultivate another harmonization technique. As a demonic cultivator, solutions were always more abundant than difficulties. Xuan specifically summoned Wang Zhenshu to inquire about the progress of the breath harmonization technique. It had been 10 years since their last meeting. Wang Zhenshu, once vigorous, now sported a few strands of white hair at his temples, perhaps due to his continuous management of Black Blade's vast array of affairs. Nonetheless, he arrived promptly at Xuan's summons. Immortal, I have kept an eye on everything at the Enlightenment Institute, but sadly, there has been no progress with the breath harmonization technique, Wang Zhenshu reported somewhat awkwardly. 3,000 of Blue Star's most talented geniuses had been gathered at Black Blade's headquarters in East Lake. Their primary task was to research cultivation techniques, and their daily needs were managed by others. Wang Zhenshu had even constructed a massive building complex specifically to accommodate them, which Xuan had personally named Enlightenment Institute. Xuan dismissed him with a wave of his hand. I see, you may go. yes. Xuan sighed lightly. The Enlightenment Institute could serve as one approach, but he couldn't rely solely on it. He also needed to make his own attempts. After a brief period of cultivation, well, he found himself succumbing to cultivation deviation once again. Perhaps it's best not to cultivate for a while. I should take a trip to the Soul Star, Xuan thought, smiling wryly. Maybe someone will come along offering a high-level soul technique. Soul Star. A throng of Soul Star natives fled in desperation. Behind them swarmed soul clans, akin to locusts in their numbers, including formidable specters. Leading them were two mighty specter kings. The Soul Star people, burdened by physical bodies, could not match the speed of the Soul Clan. Periodically, some fell behind and were easily captured by the pursuing Soul Clan. The two specter kings advancing closely behind them cast mocking glances. Stop running. You can't escape. The caverns nearby have long been occupied by our husbandry faction. Not a living soul remains. Why flee our city built by the husbandry faction? Every day is carefree, with no worries of food or clothing, and the chance to mate daily. Isn't that a good thing? These various voices invaded the minds of the Soul Star people, slowing them involuntarily. The leader of the Soul Star people, a man of striking perfection, growled, "They're using soul techniques. Protect your spirits immediately." The fleeing Soul Star people, their expressions grave, each employed defensive soul techniques. The voices, akin to demons whispering through their brains, began to gradually fade from their minds. The handsome man looked at his fellow Soul Star people, his heart filled with bitterness. They were the ones confined by the husbandry faction, just as the Spectre King had said. No worries about food or clothing. Able to mate every day. But the husbandry faction never treated them as humans, merely as livestock. The male Soul Star people were required to mate at least 5 times a day to spread their seed and produce new Soul Star people. If one could mate with a beautiful female each day, it would not be so bad. But the attractiveness of their mating partners was not theirs to decide. The Soul Clan's only standard for valuing female Soul Star people was their fertility. The more fertile, the more valuable. If a male Soul Star person failed to achieve 5 matings a day, they faced the lash of the husbandry faction's Soul Clan. However, if they exceeded the daily quota and reached 10 times, then they could rest for a day. Many Soul Star people, after being reared for a long time, lost their reproductive ability, both male and female. A few days ago, they seized an opportunity and escaped from the husbandry faction city through the sewers. But they had not gotten far before they were discovered by the husbandry faction's Soul Clan and relentlessly pursued. Initially, there were over 100 of them. Now, only 20 or 30 remained. They had reached a point of utter desperation. It seemed they would soon be overtaken. Damn it, those Soul Star nobles, truly deserving of death. The handsome man cursed inwardly. He was known as Yunshen, one of the great nobles of Soul Star. He profoundly detested those nobles of the past. Not out of newfound conscience, nor because he thought the nobles had gone too far. Using souls as fuel was no issue at all. They were just the lower classes, after all. But why hadn't they completely erased the consciousness within those souls? In the end, it allowed the Soul Clan to overturn the tables. Damn it. I am a descendant of nobility. I was meant to live a life of luxury and privilege. Now, I've been reduced to nothing more than a beast of burden. And it's foreseeable that soon, I'll be a dead beast of burden. At that moment, Yunshen suddenly noticed the sky ahead was unusually bright. The vengeful spirits and wraiths that usually haunted the sky had vanished. He was astounded. He wasn't born within the husbandry faction city. Instead, he was captured as an adult and turned into a breeding machine. During his youth, he lived in an underground city, venturing to the surface several times a year. In his memory, the sky was always dark, swirling with endless vengeful spirits and wraiths. Yet now, beams of light pierced through that sky. What was that? The legendary sunlight? Sunlight. It must be sunlight. Yunshen pointed toward the distance and shouted, "If we can reach the sunlight, we'll be saved. The Soul Clan can't step into the sunlight. The other Soul Star people saw the light too, and their spirits lifted. The pursuing husbandry faction's Soul Clan looked particularly grim. The Soul Clan had an innate fear of sunlight. Originally, the Soul Star nobility used sunlight to confine and punish them, forcing them to stay in cages. Increase speed. Capture them all before they reach the sunlight. The leading two Spectre Kings roared. The chase intensified. Yun Shen and the Soul Star people, with 4 more succumbing to exhaustion and captured by the husbandry faction's Soul Clan. But the sunlight was now within reach. Yun Shen roared and dashed into the sunlight. Warm sunlight enveloped his entire body. This pleasantly warm sensation was something he had never experienced before. Sar the novel_fire.at website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Behind Yun Shen, 8 others also charged into the sunlight. They were equally astounded. Is this sunlight? Think you can escape my husbandry faction's grasp just by entering the sunlight? The Spectre King sneered. With a wave of his hand, the specters behind him immediately dispersed. Clearly, they intended to completely encircle the area. He could encircle them for 10 days, half a month, fearing not that these folks would refuse to emerge. Seeing this, Yun Shen's expression immediately darkened. Temporarily safe. But what next? Eh? More food delivered to my door? A voice suddenly rang out. Chapter 209, Caution and Carefulness are the foundations of safety plus, turn off reset. Chapter 209, Caution and Carefulness are the foundations of safety. 2 arms looked at the large group of Soul Star people and souls in bewilderment. It had been a long time since anyone had approached them. How could it be that suddenly, such a large crowd had appeared? Father, this isn't because I haven't been properly guarding the Yellow Spring Soul Refining Array. It's been over 20 years since anyone came here. It just so happens that you arrived today, and they came too. 2 arms said to Chu Xian behind him, his voice carrying a tone of grievance. Chu Xian nodded. He had just transferred his spirit through the soul transmission matrix to Soul Star. Stepping out of the Yellow Spring Soul Refining Array, he witnessed this strange scene. I know, you must have performed your duties well, Chu Xian said casually. Let's get to work then, it's about time for a meal. 4 arms, come out too. 2 arms chuckled and swiftly dashed out. 4 arms barked twice and immediately followed. 2 arms charged forward and, before the 2 Spectre Kings could react, he effortlessly tore them into shreds. Then, like a tiger entering a flock of sheep, he plunged into the rest of the husbandry faction's souls. In the blink of an eye, all members of the husbandry faction were annihilated. Not a single one was left. Yun Shen and the other surviving Soul Star people watched this scene in shock. It was incredibly fierce. Those were 2 Spectre Kings, soul entities only second to the Great Spectre King in strength, and they had been killed in an instant. What faction did they belong to? The Slaughter faction? But wasn't the Slaughter faction composed entirely of madmen, especially known for their hatred of Soul Star people? Logically, if these 3 spirits were from the Slaughter faction, then they should have attacked them first. Yet, their targets were the members of the husbandry faction. Yun Shen swallowed hard. Bowing his head respectfully, he said, Greetings, Senior. I am Yun Shen, a Soul Star person who has been kept by the husbandry faction. I was fortunate to escape a few days ago. Thank you for extending your help. Chu Xian glanced at Yun Shen, keep this one, kill the rest. In an instant, the remaining Soul Star people were torn to pieces. A smile had just begun to form on Yun Shen's face, but it froze instantly. Senior. Before he could continue, Chu Xian employed the soul search technique, swiftly scouring through all of Yun Shen's memories. After a moment, Chu Xian nodded slightly. There wasn't much of value in Yun Shen's mind. He harbored no remorse for the actions of his noble ancestors towards the lower classes. Instead, he resented them for not having acted thoroughly enough, leading to a spectral uprising that cost him his privileged life. Indeed, as I suspected, all Soul Star people bear the original sin, Xuan muttered, shaking his head. The only useful information he extracted was about the city controlled by the husbandry faction, governed by 3 spectre kings and home to countless great spectres and lesser spectres. Capturing them could significantly bolster his sky-shielding umbrella, possibly leading to the emergence of new ghost commanders and even uncovering advanced soul techniques of the husbandry faction. Xuan left 2 arms to guard the formation while he, accompanied by 4 arms, headed towards the city. His knowledge of Soul Star's history was already extensive. Now, it was time to ascertain the true strength of these factions. The Slaughter King of the Slaughter faction had been growing stronger since his inception. Xuan guessed it was now comparable in soul strength to a ghost commander. The husbandry faction surely had its own king. Xuan planned to probe the memories of the 3 spectre kings to gain a more detailed understanding of the husbandry faction's king's power. The next day, Xuan stood amidst the ruins of Yellowstone City, one of the 12 largest cities of the husbandry faction. The city was now enveloped in a strategic formation, ensuring no spectral being could escape. 5 spectre kings had been captured and confined within the sky-shielding umbrella. The more elusive great spectres were left for 4 arms to pursue. The sky-shielding umbrella behind Xuan rippled with layers of suction, absorbing every spectral being within the city. As for the Soul Star people kept here, their physical bodies and souls had also been dispatched to their destined places. At that moment, Xuan held 2 dark purple crystals, nodding in satisfaction. These crystals, spoils of his victory, contained 2 high-level spectral techniques bestowed by the king of the husbandry faction. Rubbing his chin, Xuan recalled the memories extracted from the 3 spectre kings' minds. The king of the husbandry faction, known as the Greedy King, resides perpetually within the opulent Greedy City, he mused. Ever since surviving an assassination attempt by the Slaughter King, the Greedy King has never left his palace in Greedy City. Xuan frowned slightly. Since the Greedy King rarely ventured out, the 3 spectre kings knew little more about him. But 50 years ago, the Greedy King could effortlessly tear apart any errant spectre king, a testament to his unmatched power. Feasting day in and day out, his soul power might now be equivalent to that of a ghost king, Xuan speculated. This is no trivial matter. His concern deepened. He had initially assumed that a great spectre king might be slightly stronger than a regular spectre king, perhaps at most at the level of a ghost commander. He thought he just needed to locate the Greedy King and the Slaughter King and could simply overpower them. However, if both the Greedy King and the Slaughter King truly possessed the strength of ghost kings, he would need to carefully strategize. There could be no room for errors or mishaps, every potential issue had to be preemptively addressed. 2 arms and 4 arms have reached the level of second-tier ghost kings. Advancing them further would not only be minimally beneficial but would also consume excessive resources, he pondered. However, now I should start raising some lesser spectres. These need not be meticulously cultivated, they can serve as cannon fodder if necessary. 2 arms and 4 arms were his key enforcers, and their well-being was crucial. Though his own soul form was merely a tenth of his true form, losing it would still be a significant loss. Thus, he decided to cultivate more expendable forces to absorb the enemy's strength at the forefront. Moreover, gathering intelligence about the enemy was crucial. To truly know oneself and one's enemy ensured victory in every battle. Back on Blue Star, I was the strongest, Xuan reflected. Subtly, I grew complacent and arrogant. I even brought this arrogance to Soul Star. Now, I realize I neglected the constant vigilance required in an alien battlefield. I must never let my guard down again. Being always cautious and careful is fundamental to securing one's existence, he reminded himself, recalling how complacency had led to others' downfall. Sir the Nellfire.nt website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Xuan sighed deeply, engaging in a moment of self-reflection. Just then, For Arms approached enthusiastically, his arms full of specters. Xuan glanced over, any misses? For Arms shook his head and barked, woof, woof, woof. 2 arms translated, for arms says a few specters almost hid from him, but he found and devoured them. Xuan nodded in approval. Not a single one should be spared. The disappearance of all spectral and soul star beings in this city had nothing to do with him. Let's go, Xuan commanded, rising into the sky. He scattered a handful of blood beads, then released a stream of corpse refining blood fire. With a roar, the fire exploded, engulfing the entire city. Soon, the Yellowstone city was reduced to nothing but charred ruins. Even if the husbandry faction investigated later, they would find no trace of what had transpired. Chapter 210, Spiritual Soul Essence. A month later, 2 specter kings of the husbandry faction stood atop the ruins of Yellowstone City, their expressions grim. The taller one was named Hun Bao, and the shorter, Hun Shang. They governed Echo City, another major city of the husbandry faction located close to Yellowstone City. The 2 cities often exchanged populations of Soul Star people to ensure genetic diversity and reduce deformities among offspring. This practice made the consumption of Soul Star people more reassuring and breeding plans more sustainable. However, several months after sending a batch of female Soul Star people to Yellowstone City, there was no returned shipment of male Soul Star people. The Spectre Kings of Echo City initially suspected the Spectre Kings of Yellowstone City of double-crossing them by withholding the Soul Star people. Enraged, they came to confront them, only to discover that the entire city of Yellowstone had vanished. All its buildings had been reduced to ashes. Hun Shang furrowed his brow. Yellowstone City ranked among the top 4 in strength among our 12 great cities. Who could possibly destroy it so easily? Moreover, he continued, they should have at least been able to send out a message. How could it just disappear without a trace? Hun Bao snorted coldly. Do we even need to think about it? It must have been those madmen from the Slaughter faction. It has always disapproved of our actions. Haven't they attacked us covertly numerous times? This time they've just brought their grievances out into the open. Hun Shang frowned. But the Slaughter faction typically hacks bodies and souls into pieces. They've never used fire before. Hun Bao scoffed, who knows? There are plenty of lunatics in the Slaughter faction. It wouldn't be strange for some of them to enjoy arson. Hun Shang thought it over but still felt something was amiss. However, he couldn't think of any other faction with the power to obliterate all traces of the Yellowstone City's spectral and Soul Star inhabitants, especially without allowing 5 Spectre Kings the chance to call for help. We can't determine this on our own. We should report this to the Great King, Hun Shang suggested quietly. You report it, Hun Bao grumbled. I'm going to find those Slaughter faction bastards and settle the score. With that, he gathered his great specters and immediately flew off into the distance. SAR the novelfire.nt website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Hun Shang sighed deeply. Hun Bao's temperament had always been volatile and uncontrollable. But given the long-standing enmity between the Slaughter and Husbandry factions, Hun Bao seeking revenge, even without the destruction of Yellowstone City as a pretext, wasn't unusual. Why do I have this ominous feeling? Hun Shang mused, taking one last look at the remains of Yellowstone City before leaving. A sense of foreboding lingered in his mind as he departed from the desolate scene. Mist surged upwards, shrouding the sunlight once more. Xuan nodded in satisfaction. He had set up a mist array and an illusion array outside the Yellow Spring Soul Refining Array. With these in place, unless a nascent soul cultivator arrived, it would be impossible for anyone to see through the veils of his formations. Reflecting on his arrival at Soul Star, Xuan realized that initially setting up the Yellow Spring Soul Refining Array without any concealment was exceedingly arrogant. Had the Slaughter King or the Greedy King noticed the array and led their forces against it, he would have had no choice but to abandon the formation and flee. Such a scenario would not only result in the loss of the precious array but potentially provide the enemy with a means to increase their power, a truly disastrous outcome. These few are good, Xuan remarked as he selected several strong ghost commanders from within the sky-shielding umbrella. He personally named them. You, with your robust stature, shall be called Soul One. You, with your swift evasion, shall be called Soul 2. You, with your substantial soul power, shall be called Soul 3. You, clever and agile, shall be called Soul 4. Xuan nodded slightly, approving of his straightforward naming method. Soul 1 and Soul 2 were dispatched to infiltrate the Slaughter faction, while Soul 3 and Soul 4 were sent to the Husbandry faction. Under their aliases, they would gather intelligence for Xuan, blending into their respective factions. As for gathering intelligence on the Soul Star people and the Descent faction, that too needed attention. However, compared to the Slaughter and Husbandry factions, these other powers were significantly weaker and unlikely to cause much disturbance. There was no immediate rush to collect information on them. If an opportunity arose, Xuan planned to simply control a Soul Star person to infiltrate them. Seated outside the Yellow Spring Soul Refining Array, Xuan took up the 2 advanced soul techniques he had acquired for study. The techniques, named Great Devouring Palm and Inner Furnace Soul Refining Method, complemented each other superbly. Great Devouring Palm involved condensing the soul into a massive palm that could seize an enemy's soul during combat and refine it for one's own use. Inner Furnace Soul Refining Method condensed the soul into a furnace to rapidly melt down captured souls, assimilating them efficiently. Together, these advanced soul techniques offered extraordinary utility, promising to significantly enhance Xuan's prowess in both offense and defense. The soul of a cultivator is known as the spiritual soul, Xuan mused. The sea of spiritual sense holds the spiritual soul, while the spiritual sense protects it. Spiritual sense essentially functions as the limbs of the spiritual soul, allowing for its manipulation and application. Xuan chuckled lightly. The soul clan's utilization of the soul still appears somewhat rudimentary. The 2 advanced soul techniques, although based on the manipulation of the soul, could be modified slightly to be executed through the spiritual sense instead. As a golden core cultivator, such minor modifications were well within Xuan's capabilities. In less than a day, he had completely transformed the Great Devouring Palm and Inner Furnace Soul Refining Method into techniques that operated via spiritual sense. Xuan estimated that these new versions of the techniques would reach high grade of the golden core stage. The Inner Furnace Soul Refining Method in particular would remain useful even after advancing to the nascent soul stage. Time to cultivate. I must master these 2 spiritual sense techniques as quickly as possible, Xuan resolved. He focused intently, beginning his cultivation. From time to time, he randomly selected a lucky spectator from the Yellow Spring Soul Refining Array to serve as a sparring partner for his practice. Of course, after serving their purpose, Xuan kindly ensured that these spirits were sent to their final resting place, the Inner Furnace. Under the earnest tutelage of these partners, Xuan quickly mastered the Great Devouring Palm and the Inner Furnace Soul Refining Method. His spiritual soul grew rapidly in power. Already possessing a nether soul core, his spiritual soul's capacity far exceeded that of his peers at the same cultivation level. With the Inner Furnace Soul Refining Method, his spiritual soul's capacity increased yet again. Although still far from reaching the nascent soul stage, a remarkable transformation occurred. His spiritual soul became exceedingly condensed and began to manifest a unique essence. When this essence was integrated into the spiritual sense techniques, it immediately enhanced their power. Xuan was both amazed and delighted by this discovery. Considering its function, this essence bore a resemblance to the nascent soul essence typical of nascent soul cultivators. He decided to call it spiritual soul essence. Xuan surmised that the vastness of his spiritual soul was so extraordinary that it had led to the emergence of this spiritual soul essence, a phenomenon unlikely to occur in most golden core cultivators. This was undoubtedly a boon. Going forward in battle, he could harness the spiritual soul essence to strengthen his spiritual sense techniques, often catching his enemies off guard with its unexpected power. Chapter 211, The Queen's Command 5 years later. On the surface of Soul Star, near the city of Torrential Flow, Yunqi and Ma Nanshan, paired together, were scouring the dark and desolate land in search of fuel. Unlike the Soul Clan, who could directly absorb souls for sustenance, these ascenders, possessing physical bodies, needed to consume biomass. Typically, the ascenders fed on tuberous starch plants and insect protein. Underground, where no sunlight could provide illumination or warmth, they had to produce their own energy for light and heat. The Ascendant faction utilized what was once the Soul Star nobility's soul furnace, using souls as fuel to generate light and heat. However, the nobility had used the souls of the lower classes, whereas the Ascenders now used wild soul beasts as their fuel source. Most of these soul beasts had indeed been wild animals before, but a small portion were formerly members of the Soul Clan. Without the constraints of a physical body for too long, they had gradually become aggressive and murderous, eventually turning into soul beasts. Ma Nanshan scratched his head. Leader Yun, we've been out for 4 days and have only caught 3 soul beasts. How are we supposed to report back like this? Yunqi gave a wry smile. I wish I knew. The underground city's fuel supply was depleting rapidly. The queen had no choice but to send out teams of ascenders to capture soul beasts. The dragonfly squad had performed well. In just 5 days, they had captured over 100 soul beasts. In contrast, their own Dark Cloud squad had not only encountered the Slaughter faction, suffering heavy losses, but had also managed to catch only 3 soul beasts. They would pale in comparison to the accomplishments of the dragonfly squad. This time, we'll probably face the queen's punishment, Yunqi sighed lightly. The queen's temperament had changed drastically, becoming increasingly tyrannical and erratic. She would fly into a rage over trivial disagreements. Many of the ascenders serving her had been executed for minor offenses. Ma Nanshan pondered for a long while before whispering, Leader Yun, what if we leave the Ascendant faction? Stop serving the queen. Yunqi smiled bitterly again. Ma Nanshan's suggestion was not something he hadn't considered himself. He had thought about leaving many times. But if they left the Ascendant faction, where could they possibly go? The Slaughter faction's Soul Clan members were madmen who killed any living person on sight. The Husbandry faction's Soul Clan was somewhat rational, but being caught by them meant the life of a slave. And if they encountered any of the remaining Soul Star nobility, as outsiders, they would be even less welcome. After much consideration, the only place they seemed to fit was the Ascendant faction. Yunqi sighed softly and tried to counsel, Nanshan, we outsiders. However, before he could continue, he sensed a strong threat looming behind them. Instinctively, Yunqi pulled Ma Nanshan to the left. Boom! The spot where they had just been standing was instantly blasted into a large pit. Both Yunqi and Ma Nanshan were shaken, looking back in alarm. Yunqi, you're truly worthy of being the highest-ranked captain of the Dark Cloud squad. TSKS, my long-planned ambush, and you dodged it just like that? A strange laughter echoed. Search *the novelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Following that, 10 figures appeared one after another, surrounding Yunqi and Ma Nanshan. Yunqi, upon seeing the leader, was shocked. It was Long Yuan, the captain of the Dragonfly squad. The others were also members of the Dragonfly squad. Ma Nanshan furrowed his brows. Long Yuan? What are you up to? Using a sneak attack and disregarding martial ethics? Long Yuan burst into laughter. Ma Nanshan, you really are naive. I can't understand how someone like you unites the Pegasus Star. You probably still don't know that your revered Captain Yun is a member of the Golden Horse Empire's royalty. Ma Nanshan looked at Yunqi in shock. What? Yunqi, you're part of the Golden Horse Empire's royalty? Yunqi sighed. Yes, but I am only from a collateral line. Ma Nanshan's eyes blazed with fury, roaring, my family was killed by the Golden Horse Empire. I cannot coexist under the same sky with the royal family of the Golden Horse Empire. I will kill you. His palm surged with soul power, forming a long spear, ready to strike Yunqi. Yunqi's expression changed dramatically as he hurriedly mustered his soul power to defend against the attack. Long Yuan crossed his arms, sneering. He Qing, a slender woman beside Long Yuan, covered her mouth and chuckled softly. This Ma Nanshan really is foolish, easily provoked to turn against Yunqi. The others laughed scornfully, reveling in the chaos. However, in the next moment, Ma Nanshan's spear of soul power suddenly blasted towards the two nearest people. Yun Qi's hands, initially forming a soul shield, swiftly changed and transformed into a soul-powered bow and arrow in the blink of an eye. Two twanging sounds. The soul-powered arrows flew from the string at high speed towards two members of the dragonfly squad. In just an instant, four heads were pierced through by the soul spear and soul arrows. Their faces, frozen in mockery, instantly stiffened. With a thud, four bodies fell to the ground. Ma Nanshan sneered, "Did you really think I was foolish enough not to know that Leader Yun is from the Golden Horse Empire's royalty?" Yun Qi felt a sense of relief. He had noticed the change in Ma Nanshan's expression earlier and knew Ma Nanshan's true intentions. The two men, perfectly coordinated, acted in seamless unison. The cold sneers on the faces of Long Yuan and his group instantly turned into raging fury at that moment. They had never expected that Ma Nanshan, always regarded as a talkative and straightforward man, would feign an attack on Yun Qi to strike the unguarded members of the Dragonfly Squad. Yun Qi, pretending to defend against Ma Nanshan, also aimed his real attack at the members of the Dragonfly Squad. In that instant, 4 of the 10 members of the Dragonfly Squad were dead. Long Yuan's heart bled with grief. He roared furiously, "Yun Qi! You damn traitor!" He Qing also shouted in anger, "Ma Nanshan, you dare kill my sworn brother, prepare to die." The remaining 6 members of the Dragonfly Squad quickly closed in. They relentlessly unleashed soul techniques, bombarding Yun Qi and Ma Nanshan with a frenzy of attacks. Yun Qi and Ma Nanshan fought while retreating, using the terrain to their advantage and continuously inflicting injuries on Long Yuan and his team. However, after a prolonged chase and battle, except for Long Yuan and He Qing, all other members of the Dragonfly Squad were dead. Even Long Yuan and He Qing were severely wounded, with their soul power nearly depleted. The look in their eyes when they gazed at Yun Qi and Ma Nanshan had shifted from furious anger to fear. These two were exceedingly difficult to kill. Yun Qi was truly the most experienced of the Ascenders. Ma Nanshan was truly the strongest in soul power. No wonder the Queen had secretly ordered their elimination. With a thud, a soul spear pierced through Yi Qing's heart. The slender woman fell to the ground in disbelief. Yun Qi and Ma Nanshan, dragging their heavily scarred bodies, stood before Long Yuan. Long Yuan was overwhelmed with fear, desperately shrinking back. His earlier arrogance had completely vanished. Ma Nanshan growled, "Speak, why did you ambush us?" A sinister smile suddenly appeared on Long Yuan's face. Yun Qi, with a complex expression, said, "You don't need to say it, I can guess. It was the Queen's command, wasn't it?" Long Yuan clutched his chest, his eyes wide open, and he snorted coldly, "It seems you already knew. The Queen planned to use human souls as fuel, and you refused. You defied the Queen's orders, but your experience is too vast, likely to inspire other Ascenders, so the Queen ordered us to eliminate you." Yun Qi took a deep breath. "Was it you who leaked the information about my Dark Cloud Squad to the Slaughter faction?" Long Yuan gave a sinister laugh. "It was the Queen's command." Yun Qi sighed deeply. He had come to Soul Star long ago, among the first batch of Ascenders to follow the Queen. Of those earliest Ascenders, he was the only one left. He had not expected the Queen to turn against him. At that moment, Yun Qi felt something being torn from within him, shattering. His body shook, nearly causing him to fall, but Ma Nanshan quickly steadied him. Long Yuan, seizing the moment, mobilized the last bit of his recovering soul power, blasting out the enveloping mist. Then, with a forceful push, he attempted to flee. Ma Nanshan's eyes widened. "Who said you could leave? Come back here." His soul spear flew from his hand, striking Long Yuan's heart with unerring precision. The latter, clutching his chest in disbelief, fell forward with a thud. He should never have accepted the Queen's task. Yun Qi and Ma Nanshan were too strong. Long Yuan's consciousness quickly succumbed to the encroaching darkness. Yun Qi and Ma Nanshan sat back to back, both wearing bitter smiles. Yun Qi had come to Soul Star out of curiosity, having encountered a psionic block. Ma Nanshan, having no rivals left on Pegasus Star and carrying the ideal of saving Soul Star, had arrived here as well. But now, everything was shattered. The Ascendant faction wanted them dead. There was no going back to Pegasus Star. Surviving in the desolate wilderness of Soul Star was akin to self-destruction. Since death was inevitable sooner or later, they thought it might be better to die sooner and find release. Xianxia extended his hand, gazing at the same hand that had slain countless souls, and felt an urge to end his own life. Ma Nanshan grabbed his hand and pointed ahead. Leader Yun, I know you want to die, but hold off on dying for a moment, look ahead. Xianxia lifted his head and was startled to see a soul entity with the upper body of a human and the lower body of a snake speeding toward them. The soul entity was massive. At first glance, it was evident that it rivaled the Spectre King in stature. Xianxia scrutinized the soul entity a few moments longer. It seemed familiar, perhaps from a long-ago encounter. He tried hard to recall, but couldn't bring it to mind. Deciding not to dwell on it, Xianxia chuckled instead, unexpectedly running into a ghost king. Now I won't have to do the deed myself. Ma Nanshan shook his head. Leader Yun, you must think positively. What if it's the husbandry faction's Spectre King? Xianxia's face twitched, and he swiftly raised his hand. Then I might as well kill myself. Being captured by the husbandry faction to serve as a breeding stallion, day in and day out, would be worse than death. If you spot this tail on Amazon, know that it has been stolen. Report the violation. The two-armed figure standing before them fiddled with his divination tools for a while before saying, You two are quite interesting. Father might take an interest in you. Would you like to come with me? After hearing this, Xianxia and Ma Nanshan were stunned. Father? Although the Soul Clan had genders, since they lacked physical bodies, they naturally couldn't reproduce. New members of the Soul Clan were created by two Spectre Kings slicing parts of their souls and merging them. Lower-level beings like the Great Spectres and Spectres lacked any capability to produce new souls. Newborn members of the Soul Clan wouldn't refer to their creators as parents but would still address them as kings. Upon reaching the rank of a Spectre King, they would refer to the ones who produced them as equals. What was the Spectre King's deal? Could there be a fourth secret faction beyond the slaughter, husbandry, and ascendant factions? Xianxia and Ma Nanshan exchanged a glance. Having been abandoned by the ascendant faction, they decided to see what this was about. There was no harm in just looking. Seeing their agreement, Two Arms scooped them up under his arms and flew towards the Yellow Spring Soul Refining Array. The high-speed flight left Xianxia and Ma Nanshan dizzy and disoriented. Before they could clear their heads, they were already standing on solid ground. Xuan raised an eyebrow and withdrew his great devouring palm, eyeing the two men. He could tell at a glance that their souls and bodies were not perfectly aligned, a clear sign of ascenders. Dad, while searching for powerful soul beasts outside, I found these two interesting individuals and brought them back, said Two Arms. I think they might be useful to you. With a chuckle, Two Arms recounted everything he had observed. Xuan glanced at the two men. Xianxia, astonished, exclaimed, Senior, it's you. Xuan raised an eyebrow, recognizing the man. He had just arrived on Soul Star and set up the Yellow Spring Soul Refining Formation. Intent on eradicating any threats around the formation, he had planned to clear out the husbandry faction entrenched near the city of Torrential Flow. He had accidentally encountered an Ascender squad attacking the city, finding themselves encircled by the husbandry faction. At that time, Xianxia had invited him to join the Ascenders, but he had outright refused. Xuan hadn't expected that, after more than a decade, he would meet this man again. Indeed, it seemed they were fated to cross paths again. Xuan casually asked, Were you betrayed by the Ascendant faction? Xianxia replied with a bitter smile, Senior, you are correct. Xuan spoke indifferently, Do you want to avenge your fallen comrades? Xianxia and Ma Nanshan looked at each other, then simultaneously knelt down, Yes. Please teach us, Senior. Xuan stated calmly, Work for me, gather information about the Ascendant faction. Both responded earnestly, We are willing. Xuan nodded and casually released two streams of spiritual sense, which entered their bodies. Suddenly, he transformed these into spiritual sense brands, imprinting them deep within their souls. The two felt their souls enveloped by an intense chill, nearly losing consciousness. However, after the brief cold sensation passed, they realized their souls were gradually growing stronger as if being nourished by something. Both were elated. Currently, both were level 9 Great Soul Masters but had always been unable to break into the rank of Soul King. If nourished by this substance, might becoming a Soul King be imminent? Xuan remarked softly, that is both a gift and a shackle. Reaching what you call the level of a Soul King will be easy. But from now on, you cannot betray me. Yunqi and Ma Nanshan responded solemnly, we will never betray you. Ma Nanshan scratched his head, by the way, boss, do you also have a psionic block? I feel like your soul aura seems familiar. Xuan smiled but remained silent. Ma Nanshan knew better than to ask further, promptly shutting his mouth. He had recognized Xuan's aura, it was the one who always remained silent. Xuan said lightly, change your accent before you speak again. Yunqi respectfully said, Master, we are probably now considered traitors by the Queen of the Ascendant faction. We are willing to gather intelligence for you, but how can we return to the Ascenders now? Xuan snapped his fingers, simple. I'll turn you into someone else. Chapter 213, Mixed Origin Infinite Artine. The blink of an eye, Yunqi transformed into the visage of Long Yuan, and Ma Nanshan took on the appearance of Huiqing. With Xuan's abilities, altering someone's appearance was effortlessly done. Ma Nanshan was almost in tears, why do I have to be the woman? Yunqi coughed lightly, Long Yuan and Huiqing are a couple, and Huiqing often initiates flirtations with Long Yuan. Remember that well, Nanshan. Ma Nanshan. Sir the Novel Fire. Any *T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Xuan casually produced 2 transmitting jade slips and taught them how to use them. Take these, and transmit any information you gather through them. Yes, Yunqi and Ma Nanshan both nodded solemnly. Go, you are Long Yuan and Huiqing from now on, Xuan said with a smile. The two bowed and departed. From that moment on, Yunqi and Ma Nanshan were considered dead. Yet, being formidable in strength, they had severely wounded the Dragonfly Squad before their supposed deaths. Of the 10 members of the Dragonfly Squad, only the leader Long Yuan and the vice-leader Huiqing survived. You seem to recognize the master? Yunqi asked quietly. Ma Nanshan nodded, it was a long time ago. I encountered the master through a psionic block. But he never spoke. I didn't expect the master's soul power to be so immense. Now I understand why the master never spoke, he probably saw through it as a trap all along. Yunqi nodded in agreement. He couldn't help but look back toward the direction of the Yellow Spring Soul Refining Formation, feeling that their new master was profoundly mysterious and utterly inscrutable. Working for him seemed like a wise choice. Xuan pondered thoughtfully. These two were merely pawns in a larger game. After all, the Ascendant faction was now barely a few cats and dogs. Even without gathering their intelligence, it wouldn't significantly impact his plans. However, the intelligence gathered from Soul 1, Soul 2, Soul 3, and Soul 4 was crucial. It related to the scale of measures Xuan would need to employ against the Slaughter King and the Greedy King, whether he needed no preparation at all and could strike directly at the heart, or if he should slightly enhance his power before acting, or even reveal his full hand and proceed as if it were a prolonged war. Is there good news from Blue Star? Xuan perked up upon receiving new information from Wang Zhenxiu. Deciding to leave a small portion of his soul on Soul Star, he immediately stood up and summoned Wang Zhenxiu. Moments later, the chief of the Black Blade 9-person council knelt before Xuan, his expression barely concealing his excitement. Immortal. The harmonization technique was successful. He presented a stack of thick papers to Xuan. With a simple gesture, Xuan levitated all the papers in midair. He skimmed through the text swiftly, absorbing every word. After a brief moment, Xuan showed a slight hint of surprise. He had read through the technique and found it entirely viable, so much so that it could be practiced immediately without any modifications. Who developed this harmonization technique? Xian inquired. Wang Zhenxu replied respectfully, an elderly man from a place called Ma Baogua. He has a keen understanding of this matter, so I had him brought to the Enlightenment Institute from the Holy Light Theocracy branch. Xian nodded slightly and flicked a large blood pearl toward Wang Zhenxu. Reward this to Ma Baogua. Tell him to keep up the good work. Yes. Wang Zhenxu, holding the large blood pearl, nodded solemnly. What's the matter? Xian frowned slightly. Wang Zhenxu gave an awkward smile. Immortal, Ma Baogua has a condition. He hopes you will use the name he has given to the technique. Oh? What name did he choose? Let's hear it, Xian asked curiously. Wang Zhenxu said earnestly, Mixed Origin Infinite Art. Xian raised an eyebrow. Mixed origin aptly reflected the essence of the harmonization technique. The words infinite art reminded him of the old demonic sects. This name is good, I'll use it, Xian nodded. Ma Baogua will be very pleased to hear this, Wang Zhenxu said respectfully as he began to retreat. I take my leave. After Wang Zhenxu left, Xian immediately began practicing the mixed origin infinite art. This harmonization technique's main benefit was the vast amount of spiritual qi it could generate, enough to mitigate the conflicts between other mutually contradictory techniques. The mixed origin infinite art was divided into 9 levels, corresponding to the golden core's 1st through 9th levels. It took Xian only 3 days to grasp the basics of the technique. A year later, he had cultivated the mixed origin infinite art to its highest, the 9th level. Upon reaching the 9th level, he sensed that the technique might still have potential for further enhancement. Maybe giving Ma Baogua more opportunities could lead to a grander achievement, possibly developing a nascent soul stage harmonization technique. The conflicts between the techniques within my body have finally lessened. I can continue my cultivation now. Xian immediately sat down to meditate. Now at the 9th level of Golden Core, he urgently needed to find nascent soul spiritual materials. Thus, he planned to cultivate the Great Protective Golden Will Scripture to its highest 3rd level, from which he could learn a new spell called Protective Dharma Body. This technique required the condensation of merit and was incredibly durable. Additionally, he aimed to cultivate the Yin Thunder Evil technique to its 9th level to learn the Yin Evil Thunder Shadow spell. As time swiftly passed, 5 years had elapsed on Blue Star. Xian's body radiated intense golden light. Suddenly, he conjured a magnificent golden Dharma body. This majestic form exuded compassion and benevolence, embodying all that was true, good, and beautiful in the world, instilling a sense of humility in those who beheld it. Xian's thoughts stirred, and a shadow bursting with lightning suddenly leaped from his own shadow, sprinting around him 3 times in the blink of an eye. For the first time, Xian gazed into the eyes of this shadow, his own reflection, and found the experience profoundly intriguing. These 2 spells were naturally the Protective Dharma Body and the Yin Evil Thunder Shadow. With these, he had a reliable means of self-protection. Additionally, the substantial expansion of his spiritual soul had naturally condensed into the essence of his spiritual soul. Alongside the Ghost King's 2 arms and 4 arms, Xian's current power was such that if he were to confront Zhongyu again, unlike the perilous battle of last time, he could easily counter and defeat him. Calculating the time. I've spent about 20 years on Blue Star, and 2 years have passed in the extraterritorial battlefield, Xian mused. For 2 years, we've failed to locate Huikong, so the efforts of the Reincarnation Divine Church should have significantly diminished by now, likely just going through the motions. Taking this opportunity, I should hasten to gather the remaining nascent soul spiritual materials. If I can step onto the nascent soul path, I will have more opportunities across the extraterritorial battlefield. With no time to waste, Xian activated the blood mirror and set off for the extraterritorial battlefield, poised to gather the necessary materials and ascend to the next level of his cultivation journey. Chapter 214, Where is Lei Family City? In the extraterritorial battlefield, on a desolate plain devoid of life, remnants of ancient walls and the bones of ancient beasts scattered about created a scene eerily unsettling. Suddenly, a figure appeared seemingly out of nowhere. He surveyed the surroundings and nodded slightly. Good, no trace of the nether crocodiles, Xuan observed, looking around at the largely identical landscape. He randomly chose a direction to proceed. There was no point in trying to discern one area from another, wherever he went would suffice. As he continued, it wasn't long before he actually encountered another person. However, this person's body was swaying as if on the verge of collapse, seemingly severely injured. The man noticed Xuan and showed a look of relief, rushing towards him. Xuan's instincts cautioned him. The man called out, "I am Xianxia, a nascent soul cultivator of the Reincarnation Divine Church. Fellow Taoist, do you have any healing elixirs? I shall repay your kindness abundantly in the future." Xuan was quite surprised and responded respectfully, "So, it is Senior Zhang. I am He Liang, a cultivator from the Majestic Sword sect, and it's an honor to meet you, Senior." By now, Xianxia had closed the distance, allowing Xuan to see the man's condition. The nascent soul cultivator from the Reincarnation Divine Church was covered in wounds, and his once dignified elder's robe was tattered, hardly befitting his esteemed status. His body was full of scars, and his spiritual qi was nearly depleted. Xuan retrieved several bottles of healing elixirs from his storage bag. "Senior, I only have healing elixirs suitable for golden core cultivators here, which might be of little effect for you." Xianxia approached swiftly, a flicker of sharpness in his eyes. "No matter, your willingness to offer healing elixirs is commendable." As Xuan looked down, Xianxia suddenly raised his hand. The scant spiritual qi left in his body surged out, forming a gigantic maw that lunged at Xuan. Xuan's eyes flickered coldly. The next moment, 2 arms and 4 arms burst out from his shadow. The 2 ghost kings, each equipped with their life-bound ghost weapons, attacked from both sides. With a loud crash, a sound of unbearable breaking came from within Xianxia's body. He writhed in agony, utterly shocked. A mere golden core cultivator had 2 ghost kings bursting out from within him. You. Xianxia wailed, attempting to flee by releasing his nascent soul. However, 2 arms and 4 arms were not about to let him escape. In the blink of an eye, they seized his dimly lit nascent soul figure, tore it in 2, and devoured it on the spot. Xuan reached out, catching Xianxia's physical body and tossed it into the corpse-nurturing tower, while securing his storage bag at his waist. He then cast a corpse-refining blood fire spell, cleansing the area of any remnants of battle, ensuring no traces were left behind. Only then did he deploy the Mahayana swift escape, quickly fleeing the scene. When Xianxia had first spotted him, his excitement was palpable, as if he had seen a piece of walking meat. At that moment, Xuan knew that the man's intentions were not to seek healing elixirs, but rather to capture him. Healing elixirs for golden core cultivators were of little use to a nascent soul cultivator. However, devouring the flesh and soul of a golden core cultivator could be transformed through secret methods into a surge of spiritual qi and vitality, likely improving Xianxia's grave injuries significantly. Clearly, that had been his plan in approaching Xuan. Had it been any other golden core cultivator, they might have indeed fallen prey to Xianxia's scheme. After all, the Reincarnation Divine Church was a 6th-tier cultivation sect, revered as the upper sect by most cultivators in the extraterritorial battlefield. Xianxia, despite being a nascent soul elder of the Reincarnation Divine Church, was severely wounded and fleeing towards desolation, a sign he likely harbored some secrets. His storage bag might contain treasures, but I'll need to find a safe place to examine them, Xuan thought as he continued to hasten forward. Then, as expected, he got lost. After aimlessly wandering the barren plains like a headless fly, Xuan stumbled upon a massive, deep ravine, a sight that sparked a sense of familiarity within him. The Great Chasm. Finally, he had found a landmark. This time, instead of heading to the righteous Tao city where he had resided as monk Huikong, Xuan decided to go to Lei Family City. The Reincarnation Divine Church's search efforts would be most intense in righteous Tao city, so it made sense to change his destination. Lei Family City was a good choice. A day later, he arrived outside Lei Family City. However, the grand characters carved over the city gates had changed. Heavenly Sword City? Chu Xian raised an eyebrow in surprise. What had happened to the Lei Family City? He looked towards the gate guards, clad in the robes of the majestic sword sect, Golden Core cultivators. Had the city's allegiance shifted? Chu Xian didn't ponder much before following other cultivators into Heavenly Sword City. Upon entering, he made his way straight to a tea house to partake in some tea. Naturally, drinking tea was secondary, his primary intention was to eavesdrop on the conversations of the other cultivators. By the time Chu Xian stepped out of the tea house, he had gleaned knowledge about the majority of significant events that had occurred over the past 2 years. The nascent sole patriarch of the Lei family, Lei Mingyang, had been gravely injured by Zhongyu and had been forced to flee, releasing his nascent soul. This weakened the Lei family's power considerably. Seizing the opportunity, Shangguan Hao of the Majestic Sword sect led a faction of cultivators from Majestic Sword City to invade Lei Family City. They ousted the Lei family, seized control, and renamed it Heavenly Sword City. With this acquisition, the Majestic Sword sect nominally possessed 2 large cities and 7 smaller ones, making their territory the largest on this battlefield. However, it seemed Shangguan Hao had some conflicts with other nascent soul cultivators of Majestic Sword City. Rather than being the sect's second major city, this place seemed more like a private domain of the Shangguan family. Intent on keeping a low profile, Chu Xian had already altered his appearance and concealed his aura. To outsiders, he appeared to be nothing more than a mid-stage golden core cultivator. Chu Xian rented a second-tier cave dwelling, set up his protective formations, and then returned to Blue Star. He had a gut feeling that Zhang Xingshan harbored secrets. Therefore, he approached the task of opening the man's storage bag with caution. Nascent soul cultivators' spiritual imprints are formidable. Despite Chu Xian's soul being far more advanced than that of his peers in the Golden Core stage, it still took him 5 full days to completely erase the spiritual imprint from the storage bag. Quite a few medium spiritual stones, about 2,000 pieces. All the pills, talismans, and magic treasures are gone. This guy was broke, wasn't he? Ah, but there is a soul-breaking spike, not bad at all. Chu Xian couldn't help but shake his head, though he could guess the circumstances. The man must have been through a fierce battle of life and death, likely consuming all his pills, talismans, and magic treasures during the fight. As for the soul-breaking spikes, Chu Xian had already obtained 2 from Yun Zhongyu's storage bag. With this one, he now had 3. SarTheOvifyer.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Ah, what's this box? Chu Xian noticed a wooden box placed in the most secure compartment of Zhang Xingshan's storage bag. A look of curiosity flashed across his eyes. Opening the box, he found an ancient seed emitting a gray aura. The more he looked at it, the more ominous it seemed. What is this? Chapter 215, Taotie Tree Seed. The more Chu Xian scrutinized the seed, the dizzier he felt, an unmistakable sign that this was no ordinary object. He decided to err on the side of caution, carefully resecuring it within his storage. Without knowing its true purpose, it was best not to tamper with it recklessly. Given that Zhang Xingshan, despite being a nascent soul elder of the Reincarnation Divine Church, had met such a dire fate, the seed might very well be related. It seems I need to investigate what this seed really is. Chu Xian mused, turning back to the extraterritorial battlefield. At the heart of the perilous battlefield stood a black and white colossal tower, the Reincarnation Tower. This was the stronghold of the Reincarnation Divine Church in this war zone. The tower stood aloof from all conflicts. Even the Feather Transformation Heaven Palace, Majestic Sword Sect, Celestial Sound Zen Temple, and other such powers would not dare to encroach within 100 miles of it. This was the suppressive power that a 6th-tier sect held over 5th-tier sects. At that moment, on the highest floor of the Reincarnation Tower, 2 figures stood opposite each other. One was a tall, elderly man with white hair and beard, exuding a powerful and vigorous aura, clearly a formidable being of the deity transformation stage. The other, a slender, ice-cold, and beautiful woman, had reached the late stages of the nascent soul. The elderly man had his eyes closed, his eyeballs moving rapidly under his lids. The woman waited beside him, her expression gradually turning impatient. After a long while, the elder opened his eyes, looking significantly aged. The woman quickly asked, "Uncle Master Qiansong, have you divined the approximate location of the Taotie tree seed?" True Master Qiansong gave a wry smile. "Just a moment ago, I sensed the aura of the wooden box being opened. Yet, when I sat down to divine its location, I found it to be impossibly far from the reincarnation tower, almost as if..." The woman furrowed her brows, "As if what?" True Master Qiansong sighed lightly, "As if it's in another world, which seems impossible." The woman thought for a moment. Zhongyu stole the seed, and his only escape would have been to seek help from the heaven-shaking divine sect. "Please, Uncle Master, order the sealing of all teleportation arrays in this battlefield and dispatch trustworthy individuals to discreetly search for the seed. My master instructed that this matter must not be publicized. We must proceed with caution. We'll catch the traitor Zhongyu sooner or later, like catching a turtle in a jar." "Yes, I obey, holy maiden." "Take care," True Master Qiansong nodded. The woman then promptly departed. As the woman departed, True Master Qiansong's face grew increasingly cold. A young man entered from outside, chuckling. "This Lunghan Huang, relying on her status as the holy maiden, doesn't even show the master respect. She even showed impatience while master was divining." True Master Qiansong responded calmly, "Disrespecting elders will lead her to a great downfall someday. Let's not talk about her now. Ming Rue, choose trustworthy people to start both overt and covert investigations for the seed." As he spoke, he cast a beam of spiritual light into Ming Rue's mind, imprinting the appearance of the seed. Ming Rue nodded immediately. "I will follow your teachings closely. By the way, have we found any clues about Huikong?" True Master Qiansong suddenly asked. Ming Rue shook his head. "Huikong seems to have vanished. It's been 2 years with no trace, and even the master's divination powers can't locate him. We can't find him if he doesn't want to be found." True Master Qiansong sighed lightly. "Enough, enough. Your senior brother brought this upon himself, alas." As Ming Rue turned to leave, he couldn't help but ask, "Master, what exactly is this seed that even the elders of our sect are alarmed and sent Lin Hanshuang here to ask you to consume your lifespan to divine?" True Master Qiansong looked at him steadily. "Don't ask questions you shouldn't. Knowing too much isn't good for you." Ming Rue instantly recoiled. "Yes, Master, I was wrong to ask. I'll have my confidants search for the seed." With that, he quickly left, lest he face further reprimand. "Ming Rue, your cultivation is too lax. If this continues, I might have to harvest early." CTHNovelFire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. True Master Qiansong watched his departing figure with a hint of regret in his eyes. What a pity. If only I had the complete tome of the body seizing technique created by my junior brother, I wouldn't need to find a superior grade spiritual body every century to extend my life. Alas, where is that technique, after all? A few days later, Xuan walked out of an auction in Heavenly Sword City and entered a tea house. Sipping his tea, he shook his head repeatedly. Nascent soul spiritual items were indeed rare. To this day, Xuan had only acquired 3 soul-breaking spikes. If he was to break his golden core and advance to the nascent soul stage, his ultimate grade thunder spiritual root might only increase his chances of success by 10%. Relying solely on his spiritual root to attempt the nascent soul stage was almost like seeking death. A 10% chance of success was far from acceptable to Xuan. That's why he needed to rely on nascent soul spiritual items. Soul-breaking spikes were one option, but they weren't the best available. In addition to the spikes, there were also items like the core transformation gel and gold crumble mud. Ideally, he should have several types of nascent soul spiritual items for a combined effect, which might increase his chances slightly. If he only had 3 soul-breaking spikes, Xuan estimated his chances at about 60%. That definitely wouldn't do. With such assets as the Blood Mirror and Blue Star, and Soul Star as his back garden, if he followed the correct cultivation protocols, he should be able to ascend from one major realm to another. 60% was far from sufficient. Even 99% wasn't enough. He would only choose to break his golden core and advance to the nascent soul stage if his chances were a full 100%. Otherwise, if he were to capsize in the gutter, to whom could he possibly complain? Chu Xian wandered the auction house deliberately, hoping to purchase additional nascent soul spiritual items. After all, having slain the nascent soul cultivators Zhongyu and Xianxia, his storage bag was quite flush with spiritual stones. Yet, despite the abundance of spiritual stones, nascent soul spiritual items remained elusive. This was a significant predicament. Rarely would anyone who acquired such items put them up for auction. They would either use them or save them for their descendants unless there was a dire need for something else, at which point they might consider selling. This really is a headache, Chu Xian sighed deeply. If only he knew who possessed nascent soul spiritual items, he could handle the situation straightforwardly, storm their residence, claiming they had first stepped with their left foot, which violated his taboo, and then proceed with the usual methods. However, he did not even know who might possess such items. Just then, from the corner of his eye, Chu Xian noticed two cultivators from the Reincarnation Divine Church, one following the other, entering the residence of Shangguan Hao in the main thoroughfare of Heavenly Sword City. Members of the Reincarnation Divine Church? What are they doing in Heavenly Sword City? Soon after, Shangguan Hao's trusted cultivators posted notices throughout the city. A reward was offered for the traitor Xianxia of the Reincarnation Divine Church. Anyone who could provide a lead that was verified and confirmed by their specialists would receive a reward from the Reincarnation Divine Church. Rewards included 3 nascent soul spiritual items such as soul-breaking spikes, core transformation gel, and gold crumble mud. The bounty would be even greater for those who captured or killed the traitor, with the highest reward being 3 bottles of deity-nurturing elixir. Chapter 216, Another Betrayal. Chu Xian stood among the crowd in Heavenly Sword City, his eyebrows raising as he read the posted notice. The bounty for Xianxia was higher than the reward of Huikong. What secrets did Xianxia harbor, or rather, what was the true nature of that seed? Silently, Chu Xian retreated from the crowd, lost in thought. The appearance of Reincarnation Divine Church cultivators in Heavenly Sword City indicated they were seeking Shangguan Hao. This implied that Shangguan Hao might know what the seed was. To the current Chu Xian, Shangguan Hao, merely at the early stage of nascent soul, was not a formidable opponent. Zhongyu had posed little challenge, and thus Shangguan Hao would be even easier to handle. However, Chu Xian had already discerned Shangguan Hao's habits. The man kept to his abode, rarely venturing out, with his subordinates handling nearly all affairs. How could Chu Xian gain control over him? If he were to storm the residence, he doubted he could break through the dwelling's protective formations quickly. If Shangguan Hao had time to react, the situation would deteriorate. Chu Xian could imagine his whereabouts becoming known soon after, leading to a perilous state of being hunted. The worst outcome would be the necessity to reveal the blood mirror, using it to escape right under the watchful eyes of many. That would be troublesome. He might never be able to return to the extraterritorial battlefield, as there could always be someone waiting on the other side of the blood mirror, ready to catch him as he emerged. Rash actions are unwise, Chu Xian concluded. I should lie low in Heavenly Sword City. Surely, Shangguan Hao cannot stay secluded in his dwelling forever. Chu Xian calmed his mind and made a plan. He spent some effort to bribe a low-level golden core cultivator residing above Shangguan Hao's mansion, claiming he wished to meet Shangguan Hao and inquiring about the times he might emerge from seclusion. The other party, suspecting nothing amiss, agreed immediately. After all, Shangguan Hao was the lord of Heavenly Sword City, a prestigious nascent soul cultivator. Many sought an audience with him, and Chu Xian's actions did not draw any particular attention, mostly thanks to the substantial sincerity he had shown with his bribe. Search *the Oval Fire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. In the blink of an eye, half a year had passed on the extraterritorial battlefield, while 5 years had elapsed on Blue Star. Xuan spent most of his time on Blue Star practicing the 1000 refinement dragon elephant technique, but he never allowed himself to become too immersed in it. Periodically, he would return to Heavenly Sword City to check on Shangguanhao's movements. Despite his intermittent training schedule, supported by the substantial flesh of the nether crocodiles, Xuan had elevated his physical cultivation to the 31st level. This realm was now comparable to the combat power of a nascent soul stage cultivator. Furthermore, when Xuan had time to spare, he would stroll around Heavenly Sword City, purchasing anything he needed on a whim. He took an interest in several poison scriptures and bought them all in one go. Additionally, he acquired a breath concealment technique from the auction house. Previously, he had cultivated the turtle breath technique, a foundation establishment stage method that allowed him to freely alter the strength of his aura. However, this technique was less effective now that he was beyond the foundation establishment stage. He had since upgraded to the abyssal return method, a top-tier golden core breath concealment technique with only 3 levels. If cultivated to the highest level, one could even learn a secret art of feigning death, embodying the essence of the path of survival. Although cultivating the abyssal return method did not significantly increase his overall power, it substantially enhanced his survivability. During his wanders, Xuan also encountered several old acquaintances. For instance, there was the middle-aged cultivator Duan Ke, who had changed his appearance and even his name to Ning Quebec. His once bald head was now covered with thick black hair, making one suspect he had experience in fleeing. Others, like Wan Wuying, Zhao Wuya, and Huang Yuanwu, were conducting their cautious small businesses in Heavenly Sword City, which mostly involved occasional assassinations and treasure robberies. Yet, they were clearly still troubled by the scarcity of nascent soul spiritual items. Like them, many other robbers did not receive much attention from Shangguanhao, who seldom expended effort to manage the robbers around Heavenly Sword City. Moreover, the trio knew well whom they could provoke and whom they could not, and thus they never attracted any formidable enemies. Life was relatively comfortable for them. Xuan recognized them, but they could not recognize him. His skill in disguise was not quite at the pinnacle, but it was certainly masterful. Even some nascent soul cultivators might not see through his disguise. Xuan had no desire to reveal his identity to them, as that could potentially invite unnecessary trouble. As Xuan patiently waited, an opportunity finally presented itself. Shangguanhao emerged from seclusion. Surprisingly, though he nominally entered the Shangguan family estate, he actually changed his appearance and secretly slipped out the back door, leaving the city. Interesting indeed, who could he be meeting so secretly? Xuan raised an eyebrow in curiosity. He remembered that Shangguanhao once had an affair with his female disciple, and he was known for being under his wife's strict control. It was very likely that this outing was for a clandestine rendezvous with a woman. With a smack of his lips, Xuan too left the city. However, no sooner had he mingled with the crowd and passed through the gates than he noticed 2 figures also discreetly leaving Heavenly Sword City within the throng. He recognized their faces instantly. They were the 2 reincarnation divine sect cultivators who had visited Heavenly Sword City that day. One was at the mid-stage of the nascent soul, and the other at the early stage. It appeared they were following Shangguanhao as well. Xuan's interest grew stronger. Could it be that catching a cheater now required the involvement of the upper sect? Since when had the reincarnation divine sect been so strict about the personal conduct of its disciples? Something didn't add up. Silently, Xuan followed them. 600 li south of Heavenly Sword City, there lay a region riddled with numerous caverns known as 1,000 Caverns. The dark grottos within could suddenly erupt with thousands of nether crocodiles. It was common for cultivators from Heavenly Sword City to come here to clear out ancient beast remains. From a distance, Xuan saw Shangguanhao enter one of the caverns of 1,000 Caverns. The 2 from the reincarnation divine sect followed him inside. Xuan was puzzled, but then, the cavern erupted with earth-shattering explosions. Boom! 4 figures suddenly flew out, engaging in pairs. Shangguanhao, you dare to leak the sacred secrets of our sect to the heaven-shaking divine sect. You deserve death, roared the younger nascent soul cultivator of the reincarnation divine sect. Shang Guanhao said nothing and fought while retreating, clearly outmatched by the younger nascent soul cultivator. The other combat scene was not so one-sided. It saw the reincarnation divine sect's nascent soul cultivator being overpowered by a figure in black. Hidden in the shadows, Chu Xian realized his mistake. It turned out Shang Guanhao was meeting with someone from the heaven-shaking divine sect, betraying the secrets of the reincarnation divine sect. How misleading. Yet as he pondered, Chu Xian recalled information about the heaven-shaking divine sect. This sect was a formidable sixth-tier cultivation sect, on par with the reincarnation divine sect. The two had been at odds for thousands of years, a rivalry marked by intense animosity. 2,000 years ago, the reincarnation divine sect had even seized two resource-rich cultivation stars from the heaven-shaking divine sect. But now, the heaven-shaking divine sect was rising, ready to turn the tables. Shang Guanhao's actions were nothing short of treachery against the reincarnation divine sect. What awaited him was a fearsome crackdown. What benefits had the heaven-shaking divine sect offered to tempt Shang Guanhao into such betrayal? Chapter 217, How long do you intend to hide? Plus, turn off reset. Chapter 217, How long do you intend to hide? Boom, boom, boom. The battle among the four nascent soul cultivators was truly earth-shattering. The aftermath of their fight alone was enough to alter the landscape. The noise and fury of their battle soon caught the attention of some bandit cultivators in the vicinity. As word spread, it drew more attention from other wandering bandit cultivators. Their gazes locked onto Shang Guanhao and the others like hyenas watching a group of lions, ready to pounce at any sign of weakness. To these cultivators, nascent soul ancestors were usually lofty figures. Yet, should these elders be gravely injured in battle, they too would face nothing but death if confronted by bandit cultivators. The bandit cultivators waited patiently. They awaited the fall of the mighty lion so they could swarm and feast on the remains. Among them, Wan Wuying and his companions, also bandit cultivators, had also noticed the battle among the four nascent soul cultivators from a distance. Huang Yuanwu was tempted to join and claim his share of the spoils. SAR the novelfire.net * website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. However, Wan Wuying cautioned him, the strife of nascent soul cultivators is not something we can meddle in. If you wish to take a share, first assess if you have the means to do so. After some deliberation, Huang Yuanwu and Zhao Wuya nodded repeatedly, suppressing their restless thoughts. Chu Xian, unlike most bandit cultivators who were drawn close to the Thousand Caverns, kept himself well hidden. He could see that Shang Guanhao was no ordinary cultivator. Throughout the confrontation, Shang Guanhao had remained silent amidst the reincarnation divine sect cultivators' roars and curses, possibly holding back a trump card, perhaps reinforcements or a strategic formation. Thus, Chu Xian refrained from indulging in the fantasy that the others might wound each other grievously. As expected, the fight among the nascent souls had barely lasted a moment when an agent from the heaven-shaking divine sect, dressed in black, seized an opportunity. With a fierce punch, he penetrated the skull of the early-stage nascent soul cultivator from the reincarnation divine sect. His nascent soul barely escaped the body before the black-clothed man casually captured it and tossed it into a bag. During the battle, this agent had not revealed his cultivation in bodily refinement. Instead, he struck in an instant when a flaw was exposed, demonstrating admirable judgment and timing. In the blink of an eye, the situation shifted to 2 against 1, encircling the mid-stage nascent soul cultivator from the reincarnation divine sect. Shang Guanhao spoke indifferently, "Don't bother trying to send the information out. Around these 1,000 caverns, I've already laid out a formation well in advance. Once inside, no one can leave. As for the transmission jade, it's equally incapable of sending out even the slightest bit of information. Ming Rue, you might as well surrender here." With that, he took out a formation disc and suddenly activated it. Ming Rue's gaze sharpened as he immediately surveyed his surroundings. As expected, a protective barrier had risen around the 1,000 caverns. Sword chi surged endlessly around them, attacking anyone attempting to leave the area. The bandit cultivators showed signs of fear and desperately tried to escape, only to be sliced into countless pieces by the fierce sword chi in an instant. Xuan noticed the soaring sword chi as well and raised an eyebrow in response. Xianxia had set a deep trap for Ming Rui to fall into, inadvertently ensnaring the marauding bandit cultivators who plagued the vicinity of Heavenly Sword City as well. Fortunately, Xuan had remained cautious and kept a significant distance from the Thousand Caverns, thus he was outside the range of the formation. A quick glance was enough for him to recognize the formation as one of the nascent soul level, with the controlling disc still in Xianxia's hands. Had he been too greedy and ventured closer, he might have been caught inside the formation. With his current strength, even though he might have been able to break free, it would have forced him to reveal many of his hidden capabilities. Praising himself for his cautious nature, Xuan continued to watch the unfolding events from beyond the formation. Meanwhile, the black-cloaked man from the heaven-shaking divine sect let out a sinister chuckle. He, you must be a disciple of true Master Qiansong, right? Today, another one dies by my hand. Ming Rui's pupils contracted. Senior brother Yin Zhongyu was killed by you? The man in black only laughed strangely. I would have liked to kill him, but alas, he didn't die by my hand. He continued, true Master Qiansong loves to cultivate disciples with spiritual bodies, nurturing them for hundreds of years before slaughtering them to extend his own life, claiming their deaths as accidents. You must be still in the dark, right? He taunted. Ming Rui's pupils shrank drastically, his mind deeply shaken. Die. Xianxia took this opportunity to burst forth, attacking in tandem with the black-cloaked man from left and right. Despite being a direct disciple of true Master Qiansong, Ming Rui could not withstand the combined assault. He tried several times to break out from the encirclement of Xianxia and the black-clad man, but the sword chi formation forced him back each time. Soon, he was gravely wounded and on his last breath. In a final act of desperation, he roared, I only ask one thing, is what you said true? Did my master really slaughter my senior brothers? Tell me, so I can die with some understanding. The man in black sneered, I was once a disciple of true Master Qiansong myself, and I barely escaped with my life. At this point, I have no reason to lie to you. With a furious roar, Ming Rui died from exhaustion, his body plummeting towards the ground. Within the formation, Xianxia and the black-cloaked man had nearly annihilated all the bandit cultivators, claiming their storage bags for themselves. The two bandit cultivators knelt before Xianxia, pleading for mercy, Master. We have always served you loyally, plundering loose cultivators on your behalf. It was also at your behest that we spread the word to lure these bandit cultivators here. Please grant us a chance to live. Before they could finish their plea, Xianxia unleashed a slash of sword chi. Their heads soared into the air, and they died without understanding why Xianxia had killed them so readily. The man in black let out a strange chuckle. Fellow Taoist Xianxia, you're quite decisive in killing your disciples. Xianxia gave a slight smile. They were merely deeply malevolent bandit cultivators, deserving of death. These two were once my disciples, but long ago we lost any master-disciple affection. It is only right that I eliminate them for the greater good. The man in black smiled silently. Xianxia looked around to make sure no one else had survived. He nodded in satisfaction. With no third party left alive, there was no one to know they had met. Turning to the man in black, Xianxia bowed respectfully, Emissary, the disappearance of Ming Rui will sooner or later attract the attention of that old ghost Qiansong. He has the ability to divine the future. If he suspects that Ming Rui is dead, he might trace it back to me. I intended to remain in this extraterritorial battlefield to seek out the Taotie tree species for the sect, but I am not strong enough on my own. The man in black chuckled softly. He could clearly hear what Xianxia was implying. He wanted the protection of the heaven-shaking divine sect. The man in black pulled out a blood-colored gem and tossed it to Xianxia. This gem contains a drop of true Master Qiansong's blood essence. I refined it specifically to counteract his divination. The personal imprint on the blood has been removed, so it cannot be sensed by Qiansong. Even if Qiansong uses a significant portion of his lifespan to divine the future, At most he can discover that Ming Rue died in the Thousand Caverns, but he won't be able to trace it back to you. Keep this gem with you and continue your search for the Taotie tree seeds without worry. Shang Guanhao was overjoyed. Yes. Thank you, emissary. I will certainly devote himself entirely to the sect, heart and soul. The man in black let out a strange laugh, and with a light step, his figure vanished like a gust of wind. Shang Guanhao did not leave immediately. Instead, he looked around carefully. After a long while, he suddenly spoke, his face showing a cold expression. How long do you intend to hide? Chu Xian sneered silently, remaining hidden in his spot. After a while, Shang Guanhao nodded in satisfaction. It seems there really is no one else around. Very good. Chapter 218, Everything Can Be Discussed. Shang Guanhao's face beamed with joy as he made his way toward Heavenly Sword City. This journey could indeed be described as killing 3 birds with 1 arrow. Firstly, he had connected with the formidable heaven-shaking divine sect, securing the promise of a bottle of deity-nurturing elixir, which would aid in his soul transformation. Secondly, by eliminating Ming Rue, he was no longer hindered nor worried about being discovered by true master Qiansong. Thirdly, he had eradicated most of the marauding cultivators around Heavenly Sword City. It was a triple victory. Shang Guanhao could hardly contain his pride at his own cleverness. However, he had barely escaped a few dozen zhong when a chilling sensation prickled at his back, and an immense sense of foreboding arose within him. Without hesitation, Shang Guanhao immediately cast a defensive spell and activated his protective magic treasure. Sia the Nelfer.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Boom! 2 ghost kings, one in front and one behind, swung their 5 life-bound ghost weapons furiously, smashing down with terrifying force. Boom! The power of the second-tier ghost kings was indeed formidable. In an instant, they shattered Shang Guanhao's defensive spell. His protective magic treasure let out a mournful cry, its light dimming instantly before plummeting to the ground. Shang Guanhao's pupils constricted sharply. He recognized these 2 ghost kings. They were the very ones who had slain Zhongyu under the command of a golden core monk. Shang Guanhao was petrified. He knew all too well that his own strength was no match for Zhongyu's. If that golden core monk could kill Zhongyu, he could certainly kill him with ease. With no grudges or grievances, why would you attack me so unprovoked, fellow Taoist? Shang Guanhao yelled, retreating rapidly while urging another protective magic treasure in front of him, hoping for a peaceful negotiation. Chu Xian suddenly appeared, his hair standing on end and eyes wide with fury. Shang Guanhao, I am He Liang. Do you remember me now? He roared. Your majestic sword sect annihilated my entire sect. This enmity cannot coexist under the same sky, die now. He Liang's voice thundered. Shang Guanhao's heart skipped a beat. His most beloved female disciple had died at the hands of someone named He Liang. He had searched long and hard for him but never found his whereabouts. The majestic sword sect had destroyed many sects, making it difficult to trace which one He Liang belonged to. As time passed and new disciples came, the matter faded from his mind. Today, with He Liang revealed himself, Shang Guanhao suddenly remembered. He also realized something. The golden core monk Huikong and He Liang were the same person. It was likely that the battle at Great Chasm that night was intended for him. Fortunately, Zhongyu had confronted him instead, otherwise, it would have been him facing death. Relief washed over Shang Guanhao as he acknowledged his narrow escape. Fellow Taoist, please hold. Shang Guanhao called out as he retreated. There's room for discussion. Within the majestic sword sect, there are many factions, and it's likely that another faction's cultivator destroyed your sect. If you're willing, we can join forces against those responsible. His words were earnest, filled with a plea for understanding. Chu Xian's expression wavered with hesitation upon hearing this. Sensing an opportunity, Shang Guanhao pressed on warmly, I understand your concerns. Even if you've slain one of my disciples, it's of no consequence. She was spoiled and arrogant, likely she provoked you, and you had no choice but to act. This is a trivial matter, merely a single disciple. Xian hesitated again, momentarily easing the assault of the two ghost kings with a casual gesture. He moved closer to Hao, skepticism mixing with curiosity. Is that true? You would cooperate with me? With a reassured heart, Hao praised his quick wit silently. Of course. I, Hao, have always been upright and honorable. I would never renege on a promise, he declared confidently. Rest assured, fellow Taoist. Just give me some time, and I will help you uncover exactly who was responsible for annihilating your sect. Patting his chest with a vow-like sincerity, Xian seemed swayed by his words and moved even closer. If so, I demand you make an oath bound by your inner demons. If you fail to help me eradicate my enemies, may your cultivation stagnate. Cursing internally at Xian's cunning, Hao knew he was outmatched and had no choice but to comply. He raised his right arm, beginning to swear an oath. Before he could finish, a massive palm formed from a concentrated spiritual sense slammed down. With a booming sound, it smashed directly into Hao's sea of sense. Hao's own spiritual sense instinctively formed into a massive shield to counter, but his defensive secret technique was far inferior to Xian's. Moreover, Xian's attack was long premeditated and enhanced with a strand of his soul essence, nearly doubling its destructive power. In just an instant, Hao's spiritual sense shattered like glass. The great devouring palm erupted with a powerful suction force, sweeping away his spiritual sense in one swift motion, continuing unabated into his sea of sense. At this critical moment, his spirit suffered severe damage, and even his nascent soul had no chance to escape. Hao's eyes went blank as if his system had crashed. Xian swiftly employed a soul search technique. Normally, soul search could only be used on those with weaker spirits, and as a golden core cultivator, it should have been difficult for Xian to search the soul of a nascent soul cultivator. However, with Hao's spirit severely compromised and Xian's own spirit far surpassing most golden core and even some false soul cultivators, he faced no resistance. Quickly, Xian perused Hao's memories clearly. He then snapped Hao's neck, tossing his body into the corpse tower for puppets to feast upon. Afterward, he cast a corpse refining blood fire to obliterate all traces of the battle from the area before vanishing without a trace. Blue Star. Xian sat comfortably in a soft chair, sipping on steaming spirit tea while recalling everything he had seen through the soul search technique. The Taotie tree seeds. Under mysterious orders, Zhongyu stole them. Consequently, the sect has set a substantial bounty to capture him alive and retrieve the seeds. The sect's holy maiden, Lunghan's Huang, even enlisted true master Qiansong to locate the Taotie tree seeds. Yet, they could not pinpoint their exact location. Another disciple of true master Qiansong, Ming Rui, was tasked with secretly finding the location of the seeds. Trusting Hao as a friend, Ming Rui confided in him, hoping to jointly discover the whereabouts of the seeds. However, witnessing the dismal fate of the feathered transformation Heaven Palace and swayed by the lucrative offers from the heaven-shaking divine sect, Hao decided to side with them instead. Xian clicked his tongue. Everything was connected now. As the men in black from the heaven-shaking divine sect had said, once the Taotie tree seeds grow, they could consume an entire cultivation planet, leaving nothing behind. This rare and uniquely terrifying entity had been universally condemned by the top-tier cultivation sects, including both the reincarnation divine sect and the heaven-shaking divine sect. An extermination order was issued. Should the Taotie tree seeds or saplings be discovered, everything within 1,000 li would be annihilated, leaving no living being behind. This was because the seeds could parasitize a living host, lying dormant until the opportunity to sprout anew arose. Chapter 219, Devour. The elder of the reincarnation divine sect, unbeknownst to others, had acquired a seed of the Taotie tree, aiming to use it to break through to a higher realm. Now, he has gone missing. Given this knowledge, the heaven-shaking divine sect could not stand idly by and watch the reincarnation divine sect engage in such cruel and inhumane deeds. It's mostly because we cannot bear to see the reincarnation divine sect use the Taotie tree seeds for such destructive purposes, they argued, not to prevent their elder from ascending to a higher realm. I understand, Chu Xian chuckled lightly. After a brief laugh, he stroked his chin, contemplating the uses of the Taotie tree seed. At first glance, it seemed to be an immensely terrifying and evil entity, untouchable by all. Yet even the nascent soul elder of the reincarnation divine sect had planned to use it to overcome his own cultivation hurdles. Perhaps, Chu Xian mused, he could also use it to break through some of his difficult bottlenecks. Let's first check what's inside Xianxia House storage bag, he decided. As a nascent soul elder of the majestic sword sect and the patriarch of the Xianxia family, he surely had a substantial treasure trove. After meticulously erasing Xianxia House spiritual imprint on the storage bag, Chu Xian opened it. Over 200,000 small spiritual stones, he exclaimed. More than 10,000 medium spiritual stones. A jade pendant of essence blood. 2 bottles of core transforming elixir. 2 jars of gold fragment mud. Chu Xian marveled at the wealth. It seemed Xianxia had amassed quite a fortune after swallowing up the Lei family's assets. Chu Xian had spent a considerable amount of his spiritual stones on acquiring the abyssal return method and several toxicology scripts. Xianxia's timely delivery had significantly replenished his resources. The core transforming elixir and gold fragment mud were likely intended for the younger generations of the Xianxia family. It was unfortunate, however, that there was no deity-nurturing elixir. But then again, it made sense. Even Zhongyu, a mid-stage nascent soul cultivator, didn't possess such deity transformation level items in his storage. Being only at the early stage of nascent soul, Xianxia wouldn't have much use for such high-level spiritual objects. He likely would have offered them to stronger nascent soul cultivators in exchange for items he needed more immediately. Moreover, even if Chu Xian had received a bottle of deity-nurturing elixir now, it would essentially be useless to him. Holding such a potent item was akin to holding a hot potato, difficult to wield and even harder to trade. When the time came for its use, who knew how many years might have passed? These nascent soul spiritual items are more than enough for my breakthrough into the nascent soul stage, Chu Xian noted with certainty. The success rate is absolutely 100%. He nodded in satisfaction, counting the treasures before him, 3 soul-breaking spikes, 2 bottles of core transforming elixir, and 2 jars of gold fragment mud. Probably only the 2 holy sons of the reincarnation divine sect could expect such generous provisions. Search the novelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. But, considering they were qualified to be holy sons of a 6th-tier cultivation sect, their talents must be extraordinary. Likely, they possessed what were called heavenly spiritual roots and probably didn't even need that many nascent soul objects. Chu Xian estimated that the nascent soul spiritual objects he had could be enough for 4 late-stage golden core cultivators to attempt their breakthrough into the nascent soul stage. Of course, if one was truly fearless, even a single nascent soul spiritual item might suffice for the advancement. Carefully stowing away the nascent soul objects, Chu Xian had no plans to rush his progression to nascent soul. While he had ample resources, his own mental state also played a significant role in the process. If one were anxious or panicky at the time of advancement, the likelihood of success would definitely be compromised. A tranquil and steady mind was essential for a true breakthrough into the nascent soul realm. Chu Xian then took out the jade pendant containing the essence blood. He pondered over it. The black-robed men from the heaven-shaking divine sect had given this item to Xianxia, claiming it had the power to counteract true Master Tianzong's divinatory abilities. Currently lacking the materials needed to craft acquired miraculous jade, there was no immediate need to destroy this treasure to extract the essence blood. He decided to wait until he had a suitable cauldron that could extract an acquired spiritual body before proceeding. For now, the jade pendant would serve to shield against divination. Chu Xian pulled a wooden box from his storage bag and flew toward the distant horizon. Soon, he arrived above the East Sea, to the east of the Han country, where he found a small island. He descended there and began to set up an array of formations. Mist, defense, attack. Chu Xian employed intricate methods like layered and nested formations. He laid down 8 different formations in total before he finally allowed himself a sigh of relief. Given the terrifying nature of the Taotie tree seed, he had to prepare thoroughly before attempting to harness its power. Only after all these preparations did Xuan solemnly take out the Taotie tree seed. He didn't handle it directly with his hands but instead used his spiritual sense to carry it, ensuring every precaution was maintained against such a dangerous entity. Xuan was concerned that exposing the Taotie tree seed to spiritual qi might trigger horrifying effects. According to the description from the black-robed men of the heaven-shaking divine sect, the Taotie tree seed thrived on cultivation stars rich in spiritual qi, showing disdain for those devoid of it. Perhaps, to the Taotie tree, stars lacking in spiritual qi were like distasteful food. At that moment, the dull gray Taotie tree seed hovered in midair, seemingly harmless. Xuan took out a blood pearl and flicked it towards the seed. Upon contact, the seed dropped towards the ground. Instantly, 2 slender tendrils extended from the seed, wrapping around the blood pearl and absorbing it in the blink of an eye. After devouring the blood pearl, the tendrils quickly multiplied from 2 to 3, and they writhed as if seeking more. Pondering this, Xuan continued to toss more blood pearls. Before long, the area around the Taotie tree seed sprouted a dense mass of slender tendrils, which was quite unsettling to behold. As Xuan flicked another blood pearl, the seed seemed less interested, even actively repelling the pearl. "It's getting picky now," he noted. He then threw a larger blood pearl. True to his prediction, numerous tendrils surged forward and devoured it instantly. In just a moment, one of the tendrils thickened significantly, growing almost 3 times its original size. Xuan extended his spiritual sense to make contact, hoping to perhaps communicate or understand it better. However, within the Taotie tree seed, there was only a pure, insatiable desire to consume. No matter how Xuan tried to connect, the only response he received was a singular, overwhelming impulse: eat. "I'll just keep eating." The seed seemed to proclaim with its actions, relentless in its hunger. Xuan's mouth twitched involuntarily. He had initially thought that the Taotie tree seed might be akin to a demonic beast, one with which he could possibly forge a soul contract. However, this creature was entirely resistant to such notions. It knew only hunger, making it impossible to establish any soul pact. At this moment, having not consumed anything for a few seconds, the seed's tendrils began to thrash about more frantically, as if intending to destroy everything in their vicinity. Xuan snorted coldly. His spiritual sense condensed into a needle-like spike, which he thrust sharply at the seed. The Taotie tree seed emitted a piercing scream of fear, retracting all its tendrils back into its shell, remaining motionless like a turtle. "This thing is truly sinister," Xuan muttered. "Currently, there seems to be no way to control it. Perhaps only those higher-ranked cultivators know how to truly master it." Shaking his head, Xuan acknowledged the failure of his attempt. Nevertheless, it didn't particularly bother him. He decided to just keep the seed as it was. As long as he didn't feed it too much, it wouldn't grow. He had already set up multiple layers of formations around the area. With a few corpse puppets and ghosts left as guards, he could ensure absolute security. Chapter 220, Where can one find the top-tier nascent soul technique? Plus, turn off reset. Chapter 220, Where can one find the top-tier nascent soul technique? After securing the Taotie tree seed, Xuan returned to his main base. With the nascent soul spiritual substances already in hand, the only thing missing was a suitable nascent soul technique. Finding a nascent soul technique is actually easier than acquiring nascent soul spiritual substances, he mused. Families that have produced nascent soul cultivators generally possess such techniques, and they are often available at auction houses. However, finding the most suitable technique for myself is crucial. Xuan returned to Heavenly Sword City on the extraterritorial battlefield, where 3 days had passed since the grand battle involving 4 nascent soul cultivators. The sudden disappearance of Xianxia had left Heavenly Sword City leaderless. Seizing the opportunity, the majestic sword sect sent a new nascent soul cultivator, Shimen Chongqing, to take control. The city's name remained unchanged, and while the Shangguan family still existed, their power had significantly diminished. Now, monks from the Majestic Sword sect managed Heavenly Sword City, effectively turning it from the private domain of the Shangguan family into the second major city of the Majestic Sword sect. The newly appointed nascent soul cultivator took vigorous action against the marauding cultivators around the city, which suited Xian well. This would likely attract more people to Heavenly Sword City to do business and auction treasures acquired from the extraterritorial battlefield. Xian did not enter the second-tier cave dwelling he had previously rented but instead re-entered Heavenly Sword City with a new identity. Identity, name, and purpose of visit, a cultivator from the Majestic Sword sect asked calmly. Xian replied with a smile, He Liang from the Mystic Azure Star's Heavenly Seal sect. I have some knowledge of alchemy and am here to conduct some small-scale business. The expression of the Majestic Sword sect cultivator immediately turned more respectful. He handed over an identity jade slip, saying, Alchemist He, please, you are most welcome. In the world of cultivation, formation masters were held in the highest regard, followed closely by alchemists. To many cultivators, alchemists were highly sought after. Xian, having absorbed the acquired miraculous jade and developed the true blood elixir body, indeed had a fair understanding of alchemy. With his current abilities, he could casually produce any pill below the nascent soul stage. Even if the quality was subpar, adding a drop of essence blood could forcibly enhance the pill's quality. However, he would never add his essence blood to pills intended for others, as it could potentially leave evidence that could be used against him. Upon entering Heavenly Sword City, Xian first rented a second-tier cave dwelling and then leased a shop in the city's pill pavilion. He then began to operate under the genteel guise of Alchemist He, focusing solely on acquiring a suitable nascent soul technique without stirring up trouble. Of course, if someone insisted on causing trouble, he wouldn't mind hastening their journey to the afterlife. In Heavenly Sword City, 1 month later, Xian was earning the respect and gratitude of many for his alchemical skills. A golden core cultivator, almost in tears and on the verge of kneeling, praised him, Alchemist He, several alchemists in this city have tried and failed, yet you succeeded in creating the pill. I cannot thank you enough. Xian helped the cultivator up, saying modestly, creating medicines is simply my duty. No need for excessive thanks, just focus on your cultivation with this pill, Xian advised. Yes, the golden core cultivator replied gratefully. After the cultivator left, Xian reviewed his earnings and couldn't help but marvel at the lucrative nature of being an alchemist. He had access to precious pill recipes for free, retained any excess pills he produced, charged a fee for his services, and still received heartfelt gratitude. When Xian initially hung out his shingle for alchemy, few sought his services. After all, cultivators prefer alchemists they know and trust. However, as word of his abilities spread, more and more cultivators began seeking him out. Now, he was as well known as the long-established alchemists in Heavenly Sword City. Too much attention can be a bad thing, Xian mused. A couple of failures aren't enough, it seems I might need to botch a few more batches to avoid envy from the other alchemists. Lounging in a wicker chair, stroking his chin thoughtfully, Xian noticed 2 individuals watching him. He pretended not to see them, continuing to browse through alchemical texts. Despite his enhanced talents due to the true blood elixir body, he understood the need for constant study and practice to truly master the art of alchemy. sarthennovelier.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. After the 2 onlookers left, Xian's suspicions grew. He had been observed covertly several times recently. Initially, he thought his disguise might have been penetrated and kept his spells at the ready when returning to his cave dwelling. Yet, there had been no confrontation, it seemed they were just watching. Xian also realized that not just he but other alchemists in Heavenly Sword City were being watched. It appeared someone was targeting alchemists, but since there had been no direct action, Xian chose to play ignorant. That evening, after closing his shop, he attended an auction before returning to his cave dwelling. This routine had defined his days over the past month. During this time, he had acquired several nascent soul techniques, mostly of medium quality, with only one considered superior. Where can one find the top-tier nascent soul technique? Chu Xian sighed in resignation, the search continuing to elude him. That day, as Chu Xian casually strolled through Pill Pavilion, searching for alchemical ingredients he needed, he noticed two cultivators standing outside his rented shop, seemingly waiting for someone. His gaze lingered on them briefly, sensing something unusual about the pair. The male cultivator had a distinguished and handsome appearance, his robes fluttering elegantly. The female cultivator was robust and vibrant, resembling a blooming peony. His junior, who was helping at the shop, spotted Chu Xian from a distance and hurriedly called out, "Alchemist he. You're finally back. This is Sun Zhao, senior's son, he specifically came to see you." Chu Xian looked at the two with a hint of surprise. After Shangguanhao's mysterious disappearance, Heavenly Sword City had been left without a leader, plunging into disarray. The majestic sword sect quickly seized the opportunity and appointed a nascent soul cultivator, Shimen Chongqing, to take charge of the city. Most nascent soul cultivators spent their time in seclusion, striving for higher realms of cultivation. The day-to-day management of Heavenly Sword City was actually handled by Shimen Chongqing's two capable disciples, his fourth disciple Wuxiang, and his sixth disciple Sun Zhao. Shimen Chongqing's other disciples had either died in magical duels or disappeared on the extraterritorial battlefield. Wuxiang, with his seniority and strength, oversaw most of the city's affairs. Only minor matters were left to Sun Zhao, the sixth disciple. Wuxiang was no ordinary cultivator. As soon as he took charge, he immediately dispatched people to search for Shangguanhao. He seemed very diligent, as if determined to see the living or find the dead. However, Chu Xian, having resided in Heavenly Sword City for a month, observed these developments clearly. He could tell that Wuxiang's search for Shangguanhao was merely for show, a tactic to project diligence and responsibility. This facade was likely maintained to stabilize the city's situation and assure the local cultivators and citizens that everything was under control.